surprise evident as she leaped into Gu Yechen's embrace. It had been far too long since she had seen him, her heart entwined with yearning that felt inextricable. Though she knew he was secluded in the back mountain, she would visit the area daily to sit quietly, absorbing his aura without ever disturbing his cultivation. Now, witnessing Gu Yechen before her, she could no longer contain her excitement. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. What's wrong? Gu Yechen quickly enveloped Jiang Qingyan in a tight embrace, his eyes filled with concern. In his memory, she had always been strong and independent, and this was the first time he had seen her shed tears. "Ah Chun, I missed you," Jiang Qingyan murmured, tilting her head slightly to gaze into his eyes. He appeared even more handsome, exuding an extraordinary aura, an irresistible charm that captivated all. Akin to a myriad of readers enchanted by a tale. "I missed you too." Gu Yechen tenderly stroked her hair, his gaze brimming with affection. Jiang Qingyan, adorned in a gown as white as snow, with her long hair cascading down her shoulders and a delicate hairpin adding a touch of elegance, resembled a celestial being descended from the heavens, breathtakingly beautiful. Below, the onlookers were struck dumb by Jiang Qingyan's vulnerable demeanor. In their minds, she was the aloof leader of the Zixiao sect, a powerful figure at the peak of Foundation establishment, often appearing distant and unapproachable. Yet now, she resembled a blossoming girl, nestled comfortably in a man and Appo's embrace, a stark contrast that left them momentarily incredulous. Realizing the gazes upon them, Jiang Qingyan's face flushed crimson. She had been overwhelmed with emotion, completely forgetting that they were still in the sect's grand hall, surrounded by numerous disciples and elders, revealing such a bashful side of herself. Once she regained her composure, she became acutely aware of their stares. "What are you all looking at?" Jiang Qingyan swiftly reverted to her usual composed and regal demeanor, the rapid transformation leaving even Gu Yechen momentarily speechless. "Master, who is this?" one disciple inquired, his face a mask of confusion. After spending half a year in the Zixiao sect, they had never encountered this man, yet his closeness with the master sparked their curiosity. At that moment, a male elder named Huang Xiao, hailing from the reclusive Huang family, felt a surge of displeasure. He had long harbored feelings for Jiang Qingyan, secretly regarding her as his own. Now, witnessing her eagerly embrace Gu Yechen, it struck him profoundly, igniting a simmering resentment that tinted his gaze towards Gu Yechen with disdain. Already dismissing him as inconsequential in his heart, Jiang Qingyan looked at Gu Yechen with eyes full of tenderness, her lips curving into a subtle smile. She then turned to the others, her expression regaining its cold composure as she stated, "This is Gu Yechen, our esteemed sword elder and the founder of the Zixiao sect. It is only natural that you do not recognize him." "Sword elder? We've been in the sect for 6 months and have never heard of such a title. Is he perhaps someone who got in through backdoor connections?" Huang Xiao scoffed, his gaze directed at Gu Yechen, filled with contempt. "Huang Xiao, you've crossed the line." Jiang Qingyan's voice turned icy, her eyes locked onto the elder with palpable disdain. She would not permit anyone to defame Gu Yechen. Her sisters felt the same, as his status in their hearts was unassailable. Huang Xiao, of the Huang family, came from a lineage that had long boasted practitioners. But due to the depletion of spiritual energy in the past, their members could only cultivate to the peak of qi refinement at best. Chapter 431. Challenging Gu Yechen. Yet now, with the resurgence of spiritual energy, the circumstances have drastically changed. Their family and Appo's strength has undoubtedly evolved beyond recognition. Among the 9 elders of the Zixiao sect, 6 hail from hidden aristocratic families. This is a necessary measure, as the entire nation is undergoing monumental transformations, with practitioners being alarmingly scarce. The inclusion of these hidden families will undoubtedly provide significant support to the Zixiao sect. Huang Xiao gazed unflinchingly at Jiang Qingyan and remarked, "Sect master, who knows if this fellow possesses the capability for the position? Our Zixiao sect bears immense responsibilities. We cannot allow an incapable person to hold the title of sword elder, for what would others think of us?" In truth, following the revival of spiritual energy, hidden families have emerged, leading to a plethora of sects across the land of Huagua. However, not everyone is devoted to the nation. Amidst this chaotic situation, the government has little energy to manage these factions. "What do you intend to do?" Gu Yechen cast a fleeting glance at him, his mind already calculating the most suitable method to eliminate him, for he had not forgotten the disdain in Huang Xiao's gaze directed at Jiang Qingyan. "Quite simple. Let us head to the martial arena and engage in combat. If I win, you shall immediately depart from the Zixiao sect." Huang Xiao regarded Gu Yechen with derision. Having just broken through to the Foundation establishment realm, he felt a surge in power, convinced that Gu Yechen, a mere upstart, could not possibly be his match. "I can agree to that, but what if you lose?" Gu Yechen's gaze remained tranquil, though a hint of curiosity flickered in his eyes. "Do you truly believe you can defeat me?" A flicker of amusement crossed Huang Xiao's eyes. He was taken aback that Gu Yechen considered himself a contender, deeming it utterly ludicrous. How could a distinguished Foundation establishment practitioner lose to this unknown individual? Gu Yechen furrowed his brow slightly, finding Huang Xiu's audacity rather astonishing. How could he wish to wager without offering any stake? Are you unable to afford the wager, or are you simply unable to bear the thought of losing? A smirk graced Gu Yechen and Apos' lips, an amused glimmer in his eyes as he regarded Huang Xiu, eliciting a surge of anger within him. And what do you propose? Huang Xiu believed there was nothing amiss in their challenge, as he was confident of victory. I propose wagering your life. Gu Yechen's smile turned cold, the air around him shifting with a formidable presence that weighed heavily upon those nearby, reminiscent of a towering mountain. Huang Xiu was momentarily taken aback by this overwhelming aura, one he had never encountered, even among his own family members. Though his heart raced with trepidation, he feigned composure, declaring, "Very well, let us wager my life. But don't you dare regret it when I have you begging for mercy." He thought to himself that Gu Yechen was merely bluffing. How could he, a Foundation establishment practitioner, possibly be outmatched by this unknown figure? The crowd gasped collectively, astonished by the severity of the wager. Once the duel commenced, it was destined to be a battle of life and death. Jiang Qingyan felt a pang of concern, but swiftly dismissed it, confident in Gu Yechen's extraordinary abilities. Knowing Huang Xiu could not possibly rival him, Gu Yechen, however, remained composed, gently patting Jiang Qingyan and Apos' hand to reassure her. Together, they made their way to the martial arena. Along the way, Huang Xiu plotted how to humiliate Gu Yechen before everyone, ensuring he understood the consequences of crossing him. Meanwhile, Gu Yechen remained unfazed, considering the wager on life and death trivial in the realm of cultivation, where human life was often deemed expendable. Upon arriving at the arena, they found it surrounded by eager disciples of the Zixio sect, murmuring with excitement and curiosity regarding the impending duel. It was said that one party was an elusive sword elder, while the other was the formidable elder Huang. The outcome of this confrontation was shrouded in uncertainty. Huang Xiu launched the first attack, bellowing as his spiritual energy erupted like a blazing inferno, enveloping him in flames. He swiftly formed hand seals, unleashing a fiery blade of spiritual energy that hurtled toward Gu Yechen with blinding speed, akin to a lightning strike. Yet Gu Yechen remained unperturbed, a subtle smile still adorning his lips. Just as the fiery blade was about to strike, he vanished from sight like a wraith, reappearing behind Huang Xiu. Startled, Huang Xiu spun around, only to see Gu Yechen raise his palm, a powerful imprint of spiritual energy surging toward him. It appeared unremarkable, yet contained an overwhelming force that distorted the surrounding air. Realizing the imminent danger, Huang Xiu hastily conjured a spiritual shield before him. However, the might of Gu Yechen and Apos' palm far exceeded his expectations. Upon contact, the seemingly sturdy shield shattered like glass, and Huang Xiu was swept away by an unstoppable force. Crashing against the edge of the arena, blood spurting from his mouth. This was merely a fraction of Gu Yechen's true power. Had he unleashed his full strength, a mere slap would have reduced Huang Xiu to a mist of blood. The onlookers were left in stunned silence, unable to fathom the rapid resolution of the duel. With Huang Xiu, the Foundation establishment practitioner, being the one to fall. Jiang Qingyan and Apos' heart soared with joy. She knew Gu Yechen was formidable, yet never anticipated his prowess to be so profound, defeating Huang Xiu with a single strike. Struggling to rise, Huang Xiu's eyes brimmed with resentment, unable to comprehend how the seemingly youthful man possessed such terrifying strength. Although he felt a growing inclination to withdraw, he could not concede defeat, for the stakes were his very life. "Humph, you only succeeded through a sneak attack. Let us face each other again." Huang Xiu gritted his teeth, striving to maintain his composure. Gu Yechen let out a cold laugh, replying, "Very well, if you are still unwilling to relent, I shall oblige. However, this time, I hope you recognize your own limitations and refrain from futile struggles." Huang Xiu and Apos' face flushed crimson, rage boiling within him as he glared at Gu Yechen, wishing to devour him whole. Jiang Qingyan, the woman he coveted, had openly embraced Gu Yechen, adopting a demeanor of innocence, which only fueled his fury. In a reckless fit of anger, he charged at Gu Yechen, his footsteps thundering against the ground, stirring up clouds of dust. This time, Huang Xiu summoned all his strength, invoking the long-held powerful techniques of the Huang family. In an instant, his spiritual energy ignited with fervor, swirling violently around him until it coalesced into a lifelike dragon of flames. This fiery dragon, ablaze with intense heat, charged at Gu Yechen with formidable ferocity. To the untrained eye, the flaming dragon appeared as though it had a life of its own, fierce and agile. As it soared through the air, the atmosphere crackled with energy, reminiscent of firecrackers exploding, while scorching waves of heat radiated outward, causing the onlookers to instinctively retreat to evade the encroaching warmth. Yet Gu Yechen stood resolute, his hands clasped behind his back, his expression as serene as still water. He had transcended the nascent soul stage, reaching its pinnacle, rendering the formidable flame dragon before him utterly inconsequential. His gaze remained unperturbed as he silently observed the fiery behemoth charging towards him at an astonishing speed. Time seemingly pausing in that fleeting moment. Just as the flame dragon was on the verge of colliding with him, Gu Yechen leisurely extended a single finger. An action that appeared casual yet was anything but ordinary. In an instant, a powerful bolt of violet lightning erupted from his fingertip, streaking through the air like a purple meteor that cleaved the void, colliding with the flame dragon. In that moment, a blinding explosion of light erupted above the training ground, dazzling everyone present and prompting them to instinctively shield their eyes. Simultaneously, a deafening roar reverberated, as if the very heavens trembled in response. Once the cacophony subsided, a shocking scene unfolded. The once mighty flame dragon was obliterated by the violet lightning, offering no resistance whatsoever, disintegrating like fragile foam and dissipating into nothingness. Upon witnessing this, Huang Xiu's countenance turned as pale as a ghost, his previously furious eyes now filled with terror, a fear that swiftly enveloped his entire being, causing him to tremble involuntarily. That last strike had been his utmost effort, the strongest attack he could muster, and in his understanding, it was inconceivable for an ordinary person to withstand it. Yet, the seemingly youthful Gu Yechen not only effortlessly countered it, but did so with overwhelming superiority, instilling in him a profound sense of dread and despair. In that moment, the last vestige of hope within Huang Xiu shattered completely. He comprehended the insurmountable chasm between his strength and Gu Yechen's. The notion of being his opponent was utterly preposterous. At that juncture, a singular thought consumed his mind, to turn and flee, to escape this terrifying place and the young man before him. However, Gu Yechen would not allow him such an easy reprieve. In a mere blink, Gu Yechen flashed into Huang Xiu's vicinity, his speed nearly imperceptible. Without hesitation, he raised his hand and struck. The gesture appeared casual, but contained a hint of spiritual energy. For Gu Yechen, this was but a flick of the wrist. Yet for an opponent like Huang Xiu, it was more than sufficient. Huang Xiu, startled by Gu Yechen's sudden appearance, found his mind blank, unable to conjure even the thought of evasion before being sent flying by the blow. His body soared like a cannonball, propelled by immense force, crashing through the training ground's wall. The sound of shattering bricks echoed as the wall collapsed, sending dust swirling into the air. Huang Xiu landed heavily outside the arena, unconscious and unresponsive, leaving chaos in his wake. Such shoddy workmanship, it barely held together, Gu Yechen remarked with a touch of irony, observing the gaping hole he had created. Little did he realize that his seemingly nonchalant act had left the onlookers in profound shock. They stood as if spellbound, rendered speechless by the spectacle, their eyes wide with disbelief. Gu Yechen and Apos' power was undeniably terrifying. In just 2 strikes, he had rendered the foundational level Huang Xiu in a state of uncertainty between life and death. Yet, they remained oblivious to the fact that for Gu Yechen, it had merely been a casual blow, requiring little effort, resulting in Huang Xiu's utter defeat. Jiang Qingyin, standing aside, brimmed with pride. Her gaze towards Gu Yechen was filled with tenderness. He was her man. His strength was formidable and unfathomable. Even Jiang Qingyin, a pinnacle foundation practitioner, could not discern the depths of Gu Yechen and Apos' true power, rendering others utterly incapable of comparison. Gu Yechen casually dusted off his hands, his expression as calm as a placid lake. His voice, though soft, resonated clearly throughout the training ground. From now on, anyone who dares to cause trouble will meet the same fate as Huang Xiu. The Zixiao sect is a guardian force of Huagua, and we shall not tolerate any disruptions. At this moment, Gu Yechen and Apos' demeanor was gentle and warm, instilling a sense of calm. However, the barely perceptible aura emanating from him, along with an intangible pressure, rendered the gathered crowd somewhat anxious. Perhaps sensing the tension among them, Gu Yechen's lips curled into a soft smile, adopting a more amiable demeanor as he continued. There is no need for alarm. As long as you all strive to cultivate diligently, enhancing our sect and strengthening Huagua, the rewards will surely be abundant. His tone was laced with mirth, effectively easing the previously tense atmosphere. Following this event, no one within the Zixiao sect dared to question his position as the Sword Elder. After all, having witnessed Gu Yechen and Apos' effortless annihilation of Huang Xiu, they could not confidently claim superiority over him. Respectfully greeting the Sword Elder, someone in the crowd called out first, and soon, a chorus of voices rose in unison, their fervent cheers echoing skyward. Gu Yechen followed the sound, noticing that the leader of the acclaim was Su Shichong, which sparked a flicker of curiosity within him. According to reason, Su Shichong should have returned to the military to undertake arduous missions such as slaying beasts. Why then did he remain at the Zixiao sect? Chapter 432. Let's discuss it later. Please proceed downstairs. You may venture out for practice, but do ensure your safety. Elder Su will remain here. Jiang Qingyin seemed to sense Gu Yechen and Apos' confusion and subsequently instructed everyone to leave. Gu Yechen turned his gaze, filled with deep affection for Jiang Qingyin. Their hearts were truly in sync. With just a glance, Jiang Qingyan comprehended the doubts swirling in his mind. Gu Yechen slowly extended his hand, gently caressing Jiang Qingyan and Apos' delicate cheek, reminiscent of lamb and Apos' jade, his expression tender and indulgent. Then, he lowered his head slightly and placed a kiss on her forehead, as if conveying the yearning he had harbored over the past 6 months. Elder Su Shichang observed this scene and internally admonished himself to avert his gaze. One must not see what should not be seen. He promptly turned away, facing away from Gu Yechen and Jiang Qingyan, unwilling to witness this somewhat intimate moment. Noticing this, Gu Yechen said nothing but formed a hand seal, conjuring a barrier of spiritual energy that immediately obscured them from view. Afterward, he once again lowered his head, softly kissing Jiang Qingyan's luscious lips. The faint fragrance emanating from her enveloped Gu Yechen and Apos' senses, akin to the finest wine, immersing him in a state of profound comfort and ecstasy. Jiang Qingyan, initially taken aback by this sudden display, soon felt ignited and fervently reciprocated Gu Yechen's affection. This moment had eluded her for 6 long months. Now, feeling it anew, her body instinctively melted against Gu Yechen, as if she had found the warmest sanctuary. After 2.5 minutes, the two gradually parted. At that moment, Jiang Qingyan and Apos' cheeks were adorned with an enticing blush, captivatingly vibrant, stirring within Gu Yechen an uncontrollable impulse, almost compelling him to claim her right there. Jiang Qingyan astutely perceived the fiery intensity in Gu Yechen and Apos' gaze and, recalling his formidable abilities, felt a flutter of trepidation within her. She lowered her head slightly, playfully chiding. "Let us talk about it later. You should attend to your business first." With that, she darted away like a startled fawn, leaving only a faint fragrance lingering in the air. Watching her retreating figure, Gu Yechen chuckled softly, shaking his head gently, his heart brimming with satisfaction. With a flourishing career and a beloved companion by his side, more than one, in fact, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment in life. Elder Su. Gu Yechen turned his attention to the still-turned Su Shichang, his face breaking into a warm smile. Realizing that Gu Yechen and Apos' intimate exchange with the sect leader had concluded, Su Shichang slowly turned to face him, an exhilarating rush swelling within him. After all, it was Gu Yechen who had initially guided them on their path of cultivation. And Su Shichang felt an immense gratitude and reverence towards him. Master Xianxiao, Su Shichang bowed slightly, his demeanor respectful. The youth before him had effortlessly vanquished the formidable Huang Xiao, elevating Gu Yechen and Apos' position in Su Shichang and Apos' eyes to that of a deity. Indeed, you have established your foundation. It seems you have not been idle over the past 6 months. Gu Yechen nodded in satisfaction. When he had first encountered Su Shichang, he was merely at the 6th level of qi refining, but after providing him with foundational materials, their reunion revealed that Su Shichang had successfully established his foundation, significantly enhancing his prowess. Su Shichang nodded appreciatively, sincerity radiating from his eyes as he said, "I owe this progress to Elder Jian's guidance. Without the foundational materials bestowed by Elder Jian, my breakthrough would not have been so smooth." Gu Yechen waved his hand dismissively, maintaining his gentle smile. "It is of little consequence to me. It was merely a matter of convenience. In this perilous era, every additional ally strengthens our collective force, allowing us to better safeguard our nation and sect. I had thought you had departed from the Zixiao sect to assist in countering the calamities brought about by the resurgence of spiritual energy." Gu Yechen remarked with a hint of curiosity. "I did return briefly, but Commander Ma requested I come back to Zixiao sect to nurture more talent, hence my return." Su Shichang replied gravely. He understood the dire circumstances. The chaos wrought by the resurgence of spiritual energy and the onslaught of mutated creatures had plunged the world into turmoil. He could scarcely imagine what would transpire when the otherworldly invasion occurred 6 months hence. Yet, he firmly believed that Gu Yechen and Apos' emergence from seclusion would significantly alter the situation for the better. I see. This is indeed a crucial moment. The sect requires experienced individuals to lead the other disciples. Your accumulated experience in the military, coupled with your recent breakthrough, makes your return to trained talent most fitting. Gu Yechen concurred, acknowledging Commander Ma and Apos' decision as quite reasonable. Rest assured, Elder Jian, I will devote myself fully to cultivating more outstanding talents for Zixiao sect, ensuring it becomes a pillar of defense for our great nation, Su Shichang declared, his gaze resolute, his tone infused with determination. Very well, with your assurance, I feel at ease. As the resurgence of spiritual energy looms and the otherworldly invasion approaches, the challenges we face are mounting. Zixiao sect, as a vital force in the cultivation community of our nation, bears a heavy responsibility. We must not only enhance our own strength but also unite in solidarity to repel external threats, Gu Yechen stated gravely. Your words resonate deeply, Elder Jian. I will work hand in hand with the other elders and disciples to strive diligently for the development of Zixiao sect and the tranquility of our nation. Su Shichang replied earnestly. Very well, you may attend to your duties. Should any issues or difficulties arise, do not hesitate to seek me out, Gu Yechen encouraged, patting Su Shichang's shoulder. Yes, Elder Jian. Su Shichang bowed once more before turning to depart. As Gu Yechen watched Su Shichang's receding figure, he fell into contemplation. Although he had successfully established his authority within Zishu's sect, the path ahead remained fraught with challenges. The shadow of the impending otherworldly invasion loomed like a dark cloud overhead. He must hasten to elevate both his and the disciples and Appo's capabilities to safeguard all that he held dear amidst the forthcoming calamity. Gu Yechen made his way towards Jiang Qingyan and Appo's chamber. In Zishu sect, elders held both caves and rooms. At this moment, Jiang Qingyan was blushing, lost in thoughts of their recent exchange. 6 months had passed without intimacy, and she had deeply missed Gu Yechen. The anticipation of being cherished by him that evening filled her heart with a blend of nervousness and excitement. Xiaoyan. Gu Yechen knocked softly on the door. Chapter 433. The life plate. Jiang Qingyan was lost in her thoughts when she heard Gu Yechen and Appo's gentle words. Instantly, her heart raced like a flurry of startled deer, and a faint blush crept onto her cheeks. Come in, she murmured softly, her voice as gentle as flowing water, yet tinged with an undercurrent of anticipation. Gu Yechen's lips curled into a subtle smile, and with a warmth reminiscent of the sun, he gently pushed the door open and stepped inside. A delicate fragrance enveloped the room, refreshing the spirit. What brings you here? Gu Yechen inquired as he settled by the bedside, casually wrapping an arm around Jiang Qingyan and Appo's shoulder in a gesture of intimacy. She tilted her head slightly, resting it against his sturdy chest, her lips curving into a blissful smile. At that moment, her heart brimmed with sweetness. I'm not quite sure why I'm here. I just felt I should be, Jiang Qingyan replied softly, her slender fingers lightly tracing the defined muscles of Gu Yechen's abdomen, gradually lifting her gaze. She met his eyes filled with tenderness and yearning before leaning in to kiss him. Jiang Qingyan's sudden boldness caught Gu Yechen off guard for a moment, but he quickly reciprocated with a kiss that was both fervent and commanding. The atmosphere in the room became increasingly amorous, filled only with their hurried yet sweet breaths. As their emotions intensified, subtle and intimate sounds began to fill the air. They seemed to forget everything else, utterly immersed in each other's affection. With their conversation deepening, their connection grew more profound, culminating in an honest and passionate embrace. Suddenly, an unexpected surge of energy coursed through Jiang Qingyan, and she playfully pushed Gu Yechen back onto the bed, swiftly mounting him to take the lead. Gu Yechen, astonished and bewildered, had never anticipated being so boldly overpowered. Yet, gazing at Jiang Qingyan's shy yet resolute expression, his furrowed brow relaxed, and he felt a refreshing wave wash over him, dispelling all fatigue in that instant. 4 hours later, as the passion waned, Jiang Qingyan lay languidly on the bed like a sleepy kitten. A pristine white nightgown barely concealed her snow-like skin, while scattered garments testified to their recent fervor. Nestled in Gu Yechen's embrace, a look of contentment graced her features as she drifted into a restful slumber. It had been ages since she felt such complete relaxation and joy. This time, she had truly indulged herself. Observing Jiang Qingyan's exhausted yet adorable form, Gu Yechen felt a pang of tenderness surge within him, his gaze filled with affection. Yet, recalling her earlier fervent abandon, a sense of satisfaction welled up inside him, and his lips involuntarily curved into a smile. What was there that couldn't be achieved? As long as one lives well and is genuine, there is no girl who wouldn't appreciate that. Just as they were enveloped in this warm and tranquil atmosphere, a sudden, urgent knocking at the door shattered their peace. Gu Yechen frowned slightly, carefully extricating his arm from under Jiang Qingyan and donning his clothes with caution as he rose. He thought to himself, you better have a good reason for this. With a calm demeanor, he gestured, and an invisible thread of spiritual power uncoiled, causing the door to creak open. A young girl stood outside, petite and delicate, with a fair complexion. Her eyes betrayed a clear tension as she gazed at Gu Yechen, confusion swirling in her mind as she wondered why a male presence occupied the masteress' quarters. What is it? Gu Yechen asked gently, noticing her apprehensive silence. Who are you? The girl took a cautious step back, her eyes filled with wariness as she scrutinized Gu Yechen. I am Gu Yechen, an elder of the Zishu sect, he replied, his demeanor composed and his smile warm, rendering the earlier tension seemingly non-existent. Upon hearing his name, the girl felt a measure of relief. After all, the tale of the elder who swiftly dispatched Huang Xiu had spread like wildfire throughout the sect. She knew that this elder possessed formidable strength and would not pose a threat to the master. Elder Gu, the disciple responsible for overseeing the life plates, just informed me that one of the elder's life plates has developed cracks and may be in danger, the girl relayed, her expression anxious, her words tumbling out quickly as if fearing any delay could lead to calamity. What is her name? Which peak does she belong to? Gu Yechen and Appo's expression darkened, a glint of frost flashing in his eyes. In his heart, every member of the Zishu sect was someone he vowed to protect. Anyone who dared to harm them would face his unyielding wrath. It is Elder Su Yin from the Dan Peak. Her life plate has cracked by 30%, indicating that she may be in peril. What shall we do? The girl looked at Gu Yechen with urgency and helplessness, clearly at a loss for how to handle such an unexpected crisis. Upon hearing the name Su Yin, Gu Yechen sprang to his feet with a swiftness akin to a bolt of black lightning. Jiang Qingyin, on the verge of slipping into slumber, jolted awake at the mention of her name, as if struck by lightning. She quickly sat up, her expression grave as she addressed her disciple. Is this true? The girl, Lin, was once an orphan without support. Recognizing her exceptional talent with a high-quality water spiritual root during the aptitude test, Jiang Qingyin had taken her under her wing as a personal disciple, nurturing her with care. Lin met Jiang Qingyin's gaze, nodding solemnly as she affirmed, Master, it's true. I went to check personally, and the life plate has indeed shattered. Master Su may be in danger. Upon hearing this, Jiang Qingyin turned to Gu Yechen, her eyes filled with worry and hope. It seemed he was the only one capable of rescuing Su Yin. No one else possessed such ability. Do you know where she has gone? Gu Yechen and Apos' voice was low and frigid, imbued with a chilling intensity. Su Yin was the woman he cherished deeply. He could not allow any harm to come to her. Not even the slightest hint of danger would be tolerated. Su Yin has gone out to train. Recently, due to the increasing frequency of animal mutations, the official forces are unable to cope. Thus, our Zixiao sect dispatched many members to assist, including several elders, Jiang Qingyin explained, her expression grave, guilt weighing heavily on her heart. Though Su Yin had volunteered for the mission, she had agreed, and without that consent, Su Yin would not have been able to depart. If anything were to happen to Su Yin, Jiang Qingyin would carry the burden of guilt for a lifetime. Gu Yechen sensed Jiang Qingyin's remorse, but chose not to dwell on it at that moment. He simply enveloped her in his arms, softly reassuring her. This is not your fault. She will be fine. I will go find her now, do not worry. Jiang Qingyin nodded slightly, her trust in Gu Yechen unwavering. In her heart, he was invincible. As long as he took action, he would surely bring Su Yin back safely. Lin, seeing this, hurriedly retrieved a jade stone from her bosom, intricately carved with Su Yin's name, the life plate. Although Su Yin had not specified her training location, the life plate would guide them to her approximate whereabouts based on the residual energy it contained. Thank you. Gu Yechen extended his hand to accept the life token, nodding in gratitude towards Lin. He then retrieved a spirit energy pill from his storage ring and offered it to her, saying, this pill will benefit your cultivation. Take it. After speaking, he turned and left the room. Within the Zixiao sect, flying on swords was strictly prohibited, as Gu Yechen had established a formidable sword array here. Once triggered, this array could inflict injury or even death with the slightest misstep. Thus, according to the sect and Apos' laws, sword flying was forbidden within its walls. Stepping out of the room, Gu Yechen instantly transformed into a streak of light, vanishing from sight in the blink of an eye. Upon exiting the Zixiao sect, he summoned the heavenly thunder sword with a mere thought. This treasure was a fortuitous reward he had acquired during his secluded training. The sword radiated a soft purple glow, with hints of pale blue shimmering along its blade. Lightning coursed along its length like agile serpents, imbued with the very essence of thunder. The hilt bore the ancient and powerful inscription Heavenly Thunder, adding to its enigmatic allure. The Heavenly Thunder sword, one of the spiritual swords, was exceptionally sharp and could harness the power of thunder, resulting in astonishing might. Gu Yechen stepped onto the Heavenly Thunder sword and soared away from the Zixiao sect. Closing his eyes, he infused a thread of his consciousness into the life token, carefully sensing Su Yin's location. His expression darkened as he detected her condition. The token had shattered by 40%. If he could not reach her in time, Su Yin would surely perish. With this thought, he hesitated no longer, urging the Heavenly Thunder sword to its maximum speed towards the sense direction. At that moment, a singular thought consumed him. Su Yin must not come to harm. She was the woman he cherished above all, and he would not allow her to suffer. Meanwhile, Su Yin found herself engulfed in peril, disheveled and bloodied. Her once immaculate white robe was now stained with crimson, resembling a scarlet plum blossom. Her hair was tousled, strands falling haphazardly across her face, accentuating her weariness. Behind her stood a group of soldiers in military garb, equally battered and bloodied, with several bodies strewn across the ground. They had been tasked with addressing a crisis posed by mutated animals, but none anticipated the overwhelming number of mutated rats, swift and agile, which rendered them helpless. The largest among them was as large as a rooster. Had it not been for Su Yan's timely intervention, this squad would have faced dire consequences, potentially facing complete annihilation. Miss Su, you must leave at once. The nation needs individuals like you who possess the ability to cultivate. You cannot afford to fall here, urged the squad leader. Anxiety edged across his face. They were on the brink of catastrophe, yet Su Yin had a chance to escape. Wounded and bleeding profusely from a deep gash in her abdomen, Su Yan's complexion had turned ashen, devoid of color, resembling a sheet of paper. Yet, despite her condition, her gaze remained resolute, imbued with an indomitable spirit as she fixated on the encroaching mutated rats. I cannot leave. If I do, you will be in danger. I cannot stand idly by while you perish before my eyes. She gritted through the pain, her voice weak yet unwavering. At that moment, the mutated rats seemed to sense her fragility and surged forward with renewed fervor. Their speed was disorienting, their sharp teeth glinting ominously in the sunlight as they emitted chilling squeaks. Drawing a deep breath, Su Yin suppressed her agony and quickly formed a series of seals with her hands. A torrent of spirit energy surged from within her, coalescing into a transparent shield around her, temporarily repelling the frenzied assaults of the mutated rats. However, this defense rapidly drained her energy, which had already been significantly depleted from previous battles. As time passed, her spirit energy waned, and the shield began to falter. Miss Su, forget about us. You must flee now. It will be too late if you wait any longer, a soldier shouted, his eyes bloodshot with concern as he witnessed Su Yin placing herself in such a perilous situation to protect them. Ignoring the soldier's pleas, Su Yan's eyes glimmered with determination. She knew that abandoning them now would seal their fate. With gritted teeth, she summoned her last reserves of strength, retrieving a spirit energy pill from her storage ring and swallowing it without hesitation. The pill dissolved instantly, unleashing a surge of potent energy throughout her body, revitalizing her weakened form. Once more, she gathered her spirit energy to reinforce her protective shield, preparing for a final strike to carve a bloody path for the soldiers to escape. The squad leader stepped before her, stating, Miss Su, we are immensely grateful for your assistance, but you cannot sacrifice yourself here. Think of Mr. Gu. He is waiting for you. If you perish, he will grieve. At the mention of his name, a pang of sorrow pierced Su Yan's heart. Gu Yechen, the first boy she had ever liked, the one she cherished above all else, might soon be lost to her. A resounding crash echoed as the mutated rats breached her defenses, charging towards them en masse. Su Yan closed her eyes. She had done her utmost. Chapter 434. Timely arrival. At that moment, a deafening sound suddenly echoed through the sky. A beam of violet blue light streaked across the heavens like a shooting star, hurtling toward their direction with astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, it arrived directly above them. A sword plunged into the ground before them, sending the attacking mutated rats soaring through the air, their flesh scattering. Su Yin was startled and looked up to see Gu Yechen standing firm, his feet resting upon the thunder sword, his expression cold and resolute as he hovered in the air. His gaze, filled with fury, fell upon Su Yin, who appeared disheveled, a wound on her abdomen bleeding profusely, igniting an uncontrollable blaze of wrath within him. I have arrived. Are you unharmed? Gu Yechen's voice was calm, yet his eyes never strayed far from her. He descended before Su Yin, extending his hand as a stream of light enveloped her, stabilizing her injuries. Why are you so foolish? Gu Yechen gently caressed her cheek, his heart aching at her haggard appearance. Leaning against Gu Yechen's embrace, Su Yin managed a faint smile and whispered, It's nothing. As a citizen of Hua country, I must do something when I have the capability. The mutated rats, upon witnessing Gu Yechen's arrival, hesitated in fear but did not flee. Instead, they bared their fangs at him, emitting peculiar sounds. Gu Yechen surveyed the scene, understanding why Su Yin, at the foundation stage, had been cornered to such an extent. The slain mutated rats lay in heaps, and more continued to emerge, as if there were no end to them. Are you the beast that have harmed my woman? Gu Yechen and Apos, S cold gaze fixed upon the horde of rats, and an overwhelming pressure descended upon them. In that moment, everyone sensed a powerful surge of spiritual energy. Gu Yechen formed a hand seal, and with a grip, the thunder sword materialized in his hand. He ascended slowly, the lightning within the sword swelling to a terrifying extent. As streaks of purple lightning surged forth like dragons, cleaving down toward the mutated rat swarm below. In an instant, the once clear sky darkened with ominous clouds. As the world was engulfed in a dazzling violet light, the thunderous roars of lightning echoing relentlessly. The mutated rats began to retreat, attempting to flee, but were frozen in place by Gu Yechen's oppressive aura. Under the might of the lightning, they emitted mournful cries, dissipating into clouds of black smoke. Within moments, the once dense horde of mutated rats was annihilated. Gu Yechen stowed the thunder sword within his body and swiftly appeared beside Su Yin. He observed her pale complexion and blood-soaked body, a pang of anguish gripping his heart. He gently embraced her, whispering, I have come too late, Yin. Su Yin looked at Gu Yechen, her eyes reddened. She had feared she would never see him again, yet her heart had always believed he would arrive. Weakly, she smiled and said, Chen, I knew you would come. Gu Yechen nodded slightly and retrieved some healing pills from his storage ring, feeding them to Su Yin. With the effect of the pills, her injuries gradually stabilized, and a hint of color returned to her face. Thank you, Elder Gu, for saving our lives. The squad leader and soldiers bowed deeply in gratitude, their eyes brimming with appreciation. They had seen Gu Yechen and Apos' likeness before. Gu Yechen waved his hand, saying, No need for thanks, it is what I ought to do. The soldiers nodded and began searching the treacherous area to prevent any remaining threats. Gu Yechen turned to Su Yin and softly said, Yin, I will take you back to the Zishu sect to recuperate. Su Yin nodded slightly, leaning into Gu Yechen's warm embrace, feeling an overwhelming sense of security. Gu Yechen summoned the Thunder Sword once more, and together they soared toward the Zixiao sect. On their journey back, Su Yin recounted the events that had transpired. She had encountered a soldier squad besieged by mutated rats while honing her skills against mutated creatures. Without hesitation, she had rushed to assist, unaware that the mutated rats were relentless, ultimately leading her into danger. Su Yin felt a chill run down her spine. Had Gu Yechen not arrived, she would have been irrevocably separated from him. Soon, they returned to the Zixiao sect. Su Yin led Gu Yechen to her quarters, where Jiang Qingyan hurried over upon hearing of Su Yan's safe return. Seeing Su Yin, though injured, was not in grave danger, Jiang Qingyan breathed a sigh of relief. Chen, please take good care of Su Yin and tend to her wounds. With that, Jiang Qingyan blushed and dashed away, leaving Su Yin blushing as she watched her depart. Gu Yechen chuckled helplessly and turned to Su Yin, saying, "Take off your clothes. I will help you heal. And you need to change." What? Su Yin exclaimed, feeling a surge of anxiety at the thought of undressing for treatment. Although they had been intimate before, it had been half a year since their last encounter, leaving her heart fluttering with nervousness. "I can only heal you better if you remove your clothing." Gu Yechen rested his chin on her shoulder and whispered in her ear, sending a wave of warmth through Su Yan's body, making her instinctively lean closer to him. She hesitated, but eventually began to shed her garments, revealing her flawless back, causing Gu Yechen to momentarily lose his composure. Though he had seen it many times before, the sight still ignited a different sensation within him. "Bear with it. It may sting a little," Gu Yechen spoke softly. Su Yin nodded. Despite having taken the pills, the wound still throbbed with pain. Gu Yechen suppressed the heat rising within him, channeling his inner energy as his hands gently pressed against her exquisite back. Su Yin felt a shiver run through her body. Acutely aware of Gu Yechen's warm hands on her skin, a sensation that was almost unbearable. A wave of healing energy flowed from his hands, gradually mending her internal injuries, making her cheeks flush even deeper. The overwhelming comfort made her involuntarily emit a soft moan. Realizing her state, she quickly stifled her reaction, the color returning to her cheeks. She was certain Gu Yechen had hurt her. Half an hour later, her injuries had completely healed, the previously gaping wound on her abdomen now smooth and unblemished. How miraculous! Su Yin gasped, gazing down at her abdomen, where the hideous scar had vanished, her skin as smooth as ever, as if she had never been injured. Instinctively, she checked her arms, finding the previous wounds had also completely healed. Gu Yechen gently wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. Their closeness intensified the atmosphere in the room, an invisible warmth enveloping the air, the temperature seemingly rising without notice. Su Yin, in her state of undress, felt Gu Yechen's burning body heat against her back, coupled with his warm breath lightly brushing her neck, causing her to shiver with delight, surrendering to the warmth enveloping her. Gu Yechen lowered his head slightly and placed a tender kiss on her earlobe, the sensation akin to a jolt of electricity coursing through her entire being. His kisses trailed down her delicate neck slowly. Su Yin tilted her head slightly, elegantly exposing her perfect neck, willingly inviting Gu Yechen's kiss. Each time his lips brushed against her skin, a gentle shiver coursed through her delicate form, a sensation both tantalizing and sweet. It had been a full 6 months since she had experienced such intimate contact, and in this moment, she longed for the nurturing affection of her beloved. All else in the world faded into insignificance. "Please, may I have it?" Su Yin slightly turned her head, gazing affectionately at Gu Yechen's profile, her eyes shimmering with a dreamy love and a hint of uncontainable desire. Gu Yechen did not respond with words but conveyed his intentions through actions. He slowly lowered his head and tenderly kissed her lips. Su Yin and Appo's heart brimmed with satisfaction. After all, no woman could resist such gentle treatment from the man she loved. After 2.5 minutes, Gu Yechen gently released her lips. At that moment, Su Yin was slightly breathless, a few strands of hair clinging to her flushed cheeks due to perspiration, adding an alluring charm to her beauty. "Are you afraid?" Gu Yechen looked at Su Yin, his gaze filled with tenderness. He was prepared for everything, waiting solely for her response. Su Yin slowly opened her eyes, quietly staring at the man she had longed for day and night, her heart swelling with love. She shook her head gently, her eyes dreamy, whispering, "I desire it. So please give it to me." After speaking, she revealed a soft smile, her gaze encouraging, as if urging Gu Yechen to hasten his actions. Understanding her implication, Gu Yechen no longer hesitated and immersed himself completely in the moment. Su Yan's brows furrowed slightly as an unusual sensation washed over her, causing a flicker of shyness, but more so a rapture at their closeness. She knew precisely what it was, the intertwining of their affections, the sublime moment of emotional transcendence. 3 hours later, as the fervor gradually subsided, Su Yin looked contentedly at the man beside her. He was the man she adored. His power so formidable that every interaction with him transported her to the clouds, that intoxicating feeling ensnaring her deeply, rendering her unable to extricate herself. This extreme beauty felt utterly marvelous to her. How is it that you are always so incredible? Su Yan placed her hand gently on Gu Yechen and Amp Apos' solid chest. Gazing at him with a blissful expression, her tone playful yet teasing. In that moment, she embodied a woman utterly immersed in the sweetness of love. Do you not feel that your choice was remarkably correct? Gu Yechen smiled, caressing her cheek with fondness, his eyes brimming with affection. Before placing a gentle kiss on her forehead, Su Yan blushed, playfully retorting, "You rascal." Although she spoke thus, her head nestled tightly against Gu Yechen's chest. Fully aware that he could not remain by her side indefinitely, he had more pressing matters to attend to. Yet, in this moment of tenderness and sweetness, she felt immeasurably fulfilled. I cannot allow myself to fall into peril again. If you were gone, I would be heartbroken. Gu Yechen looked at her seriously, a hint of sadness in his gaze. The moment he saw her life token shatter, it felt as though his heart had been violently wrenched. Su Yan, witnessing the sorrow etched on Gu Yechen and Apos' face, felt a pang of compassion. She quickly embraced him, softly saying, "Do not worry, I understand. It will not happen again." The two of them indulged in affectionate closeness for a while longer before Gu Yechen slowly rose. "Are you leaving?" Su Yan looked at him with reluctance. Her eyes filled with longing. Deep down, she yearned for Gu Yechen to stay with her longer, but she also understood the importance of not being too greedy. He had his responsibilities and missions. "Yes, rest well for now. I will return to see you later." Gu Yechen gently caressed her cheek, his eyes filled with reluctance, then placed a kiss on her lips before turning to leave. Inside the great hall of the sect, the atmosphere felt somewhat heavy. Ma Xian unexpectedly appeared. Looking at Jiang Qingyan with a troubled expression, as if he had 1,000 words to say but did not know where to begin. He understood that the Zixiao sect was still in its infancy, yet the recent resurgence of spiritual energy had caused tremendous upheaval, exhausting the entire nation. Even with prior preparations, facing the current complex situation left him feeling somewhat powerless. "Mr. Ma, please feel free to speak openly. There and Amp Apos' no need for hesitation." Jiang Qingyan observed Ma Xian and Amp Apos' hesitance and guessed he must be in a difficult situation, thus offering a warm smile. Hearing Jiang Qingyan and Amp Apos' understanding words, Ma Xian nodded slightly, then slowly said, "Sect leader Jiang, I have indeed come seeking assistance." Jiang Qingyan quickly waved her hand, saying, "Mr. Ma, there is no need for such formality. Although the Zixiu sect operates independently from Huagua, we are still citizens of Huagua, united in our goal to protect our nation and resist crises." Ma Xian felt a surge of emotion upon hearing this. While the Zixiao sect was not bound by conventional orders, Gu Yechen had made it clear that they would lend their help in critical moments, which was precisely why Ma Xian had come seeking assistance. "I will not elaborate further. I wish to request one of your most capable individuals to assist. A particularly troublesome mutated creature has appeared in your province, one that even mechs are powerless against. Laser blades have proven ineffective against it." Ma Xian looked at Jiang Qingyan gravely, worry evident in his eyes. "What about the laser cannons? Have they failed as well?" Jiang Qingyan and Apos' expression shifted to one of concern. Currently, aside from Gu Yechen, she was the most powerful within the sect. However, she needed to remain at the sect to ensure its normal operation while also dedicating time to her cultivation in preparation for the impending catastrophe in half a year. She was truly stretched thin. Ma Xian shook his head helplessly, stating, "The laser cannons cannot be deployed yet. The creature has appeared near a densely populated residential area, and the local government is urgently organizing evacuations, but it is difficult to complete the process in a short time. Thus, we thought to seek the Zixiao sect and Apos' help, hoping to find a suitable solution." Just then, Gu Yechen stepped out from behind the hall. Upon seeing Jiang Qingyan discussing matters with several elders and Ma Xian, he was slightly taken aback. "Mr. Ma, what brings you here?" Gu Yechen inquired, puzzled by Ma Xian's unexpected presence in the Zixiao sect's grand hall. "Yechen, you have emerged from seclusion?" Ma Xian felt a wave of relief wash over him upon seeing Gu Yechen. If he could join them in dealing with the mutated creature, there was hope for a resolution. "Yes, I emerged to manage some affairs of the sect but will likely return to seclusion shortly. My time is limited, and I must see if I can break through to the transformation realm. Perhaps only then will we have a better chance of facing the impending crisis," Gu Yechen replied, a faint smile on his face, though a sense of urgency flickered in his eyes as he looked at Ma Xian. "Mr. Ma, is there something troubling you?" Gu Yechen keenly sensed something amiss in Ma Xian and Apos' demeanor, suspecting he faced a predicament. Ma Xian nodded slightly, his expression grave as he said, "Yechen, you may not be aware, but the impact of the spiritual energy resurgence has been immense. Reports of soldier casualties are emerging from various locations, though fortunately, there have been no reports of civilian casualties thus far." "What has happened?" Gu Yechen exclaimed, astonished. Logically, the real crisis had not yet fully descended. Such occurrences should not be happening. In your province, an exceedingly rare magical beast has appeared. Its massive form is most peculiar, possessing 2 heads, of vivid purple hue, and an extraordinarily hard exterior. Even small missiles fail to inflict substantial damage upon it, and the laser blades of mechas are utterly ineffective. Given the incident's location in a residential area, we have yet to devise a suitable solution. Ma Xian gazed at Gu Yechen, aware that if Gu Yechen were willing to intervene, the matter would be resolved. However, he was also concerned that Gu Yechen might be preoccupied with his seclusion for cultivation. Could it truly be a 4th-tier magical beast, considering that even small missiles could not harm it? Such creatures should not have emerged during this period, at most. Only 3rd-tier beasts should be present. Gu Yechen listened intently to Ma Xian and Amp Appo's detailed account, his mind equally perplexed. After all, only 6 months had elapsed since the resurgence of spiritual energy, and it was illogical for such a formidable beast to surface unless there were an actual invasion from another realm, which clearly had not yet occurred. Ma, I shall accompany you, Gu Yechen resolved after deliberation. If the beast were in an uninhabited area, missiles could suffice. However, in a residential zone, that would be impossible. Upon hearing this, Ma Xian felt a wave of relief wash over him. With Gu Yechen's involvement, success was assured. He stood and smiled, saying, Yechen, your assistance is most appreciated. On behalf of the local residents, I thank you. Gu Yechen waved his hand dismissively. It is nothing. The most critical matter lies ahead. How many individuals in the military are currently cultivating? He inquired of Ma Xian. Currently, the entire populace is engaged in cultivation, and those in the military with spiritual roots have also commenced their training. However, the highest among them has only reached the initial stage of foundation establishment, Ma Xian replied, his expression grave. Cultivation is not a simple endeavor. The one at the initial foundation stage merely progressed quickly due to his commendable spiritual root. Gu Yechen nodded. Acknowledging this reality, he turned to Jiang Qingyan and said, Qingyan, I will set off for a brief while. Do not worry. Jiang Qingyan nodded, reassured, for it seemed that no one in this world could rival him. Let us depart, he said, looking at Ma Xian, prepared to capture the beast and then retreat to his seclusion to pursue the transformation into the divine realm. Ma Xian nodded in agreement and remarked, then we shall go. However, he did not walk in front of Gu Yechen. Instead, he trailed behind him. The circumstances had changed. The Purple Cloud sect and Appo's assistance in countering invasions was already a significant advantage for Huagua. Noticing Ma Xian following him, Gu Yechen paused briefly and suggested, Ma, let us walk together. Ma Xian felt a sense of comfort in his heart and quickly matched Gu Yechen's pace. Upon exiting the Grand Hall of the Purple Cloud sect, Gu Yechen summoned a spacecraft he had acquired through the system. The 2 men boarded the vessel, accompanied by several armed soldiers who had come with Ma Xian. Yechen, what is this? Ma Xian asked, astonished as he gazed at Gu Yechen. This is a spacecraft. It may also be referred to as a spatial vessel. Gu Yechen replied with a faint smile before channeling his spiritual energy. The spacecraft gradually glided away from the confines of the Purple Cloud sect, heading towards the province. After approximately 15 minutes, the vessel hovered above the province. Gu Yechen's cold gaze scanned the area below, where a purple, 2-headed beast was wreaking havoc. This creature is on the verge of breaking through to the 4th tier, Gu Yechen observed in astonishment, noting its advancement to a half-step of 4th tier status. Just 1 step away. No wonder ordinary attacks had no effect on it. It is understandable that even small missiles cannot harm it. If this continues, the danger will escalate. Ma Xian remarked seriously, realizing the beast's imminent elevation in power. That is certain. It is still unfamiliar with its surroundings. Once it acclimatizes, flesh and blood will become a tremendous source of nourishment for it, Gu Yechen noted gravely, his focus unwavering on the 2-headed beast. The group landed outside the defensive perimeter and united with the on-site leader. Mr. Ma, you have returned? Han Bing appeared before them. Upon noticing Gu Yechen, she paused in surprise and respectfully greeted, Mr. Gu, you are here as well? Gu Yechen smiled at Han Bing. Indeed. Thank you for your previous intervention, Mr. Gu. Han Bing replied, bowing slightly. Chapter 435. Treating Gu Yechen as prey. With a gentle smile adorning Gu Yechen's face, he waved his hand lightly and remarked, that was merely fortunate for you. The first set of mechas happened to be crafted by my own hands, and I left my emergency contact on it, which is why you were able to reach me so swiftly. Now, do enlighten me about the specifics of the situation. As he spoke, his gaze first settled on Han Bing before gradually shifting to the massive beast in the distance. Han Bing furrowed his brow, a hint of gravity in his eyes as he fixated on the creature. This beast is significantly stronger than the 2nd-tier monster we previously encountered. I piloted the mecha and unleashed a full-force attack with the laser blade, yet there wasn't even a scratch on it. It seemed as though my efforts were utterly inconsequential. When I attempted to reduce the energy of the laser cannon by 2/3, it merely tickled the beast, yielding no effect whatsoever. You are aware of the laser cannon's potency. Even with diminished energy, it poses a considerable risk to the surrounding environment. If I were to continue, the nearby buildings and residents would be in peril, which is why I dared not act recklessly. As Han Bing spoke, he clenched his fists, the murderous intent in his eyes intensifying. This was entirely reasonable. The defensive capabilities of such beasts are indeed formidable, and inflicting tangible harm with conventional weaponry is exceedingly challenging. Gu Yechen regarded the imposing creature radiating an overwhelming aura with a calm demeanor and spoke in a measured tone. He then turned his gaze to Ma Xian and inquired, "Has it exhibited any aggressive behavior?" Ma Xian nodded slightly, relaying the information he had received. Since its emergence, it has indeed injured several civilians. However, based on the circumstances at the scene, it appears that the beast has only recently undergone mutation and has yet to fully acclimate to its newfound strength, which is why it has not resorted to lethal force. Nonetheless, numerous warriors attempting to subdue it have sustained injuries in the process. Gu Yechen contemplated this for a moment before responding. In that case, let us observe for now. Should it act again in a manner that jeopardizes the safety of the populace, I will intervene. However, it seemed as though the creature was deliberately opposing Gu Yechen's intentions. Just as Gu Yechen finished speaking, the two-headed beast, previously languid on the ground, began to stir. A pair of roars shattered the air, filled with agitation. Gu Yechen furrowed his brow slightly. He had intended to observe the creature's behavior further, yet it seemed to disregard his wishes, unable to contain itself any longer. Without a moment and Appo's hesitation, Gu Yechen transformed into a streak of light, appearing instantly before the two-headed beast. His gaze was penetrating, imbued with an intangible sense of pressure, fixed upon the colossal entity. The beast, which had just awakened from slumber, was poised to display its might in this territory and release its pent-up frustration. Yet, upon raising its head, it found a human figure suspended before it, exuding a power that left even this half-step fourth-tier beast perplexed. In that fleeting moment, a thought flashed through its primitive, beastly mind. Consuming this human would undoubtedly enhance its strength, perhaps even allowing it to ascend to the fourth tier and become the true sovereign of this region. With this notion in mind, the beast licked its toothy maw, excitement glimmering in its eyes as it gazed at Gu Yechen. Han Bing, what does this mean? Why does it appear so exhilarated upon seeing Yechen? Ma Xian questioned, perplexed. As he observed the interplay between the human and the beast, feeling a sense of intrigue regarding the creature's peculiar interest in Gu Yechen. After a moment of contemplation, Han Bing articulated his thoughts. If I am not mistaken, it seems this beast perceives Mr. Gu as its next meal. Look at its gaze. It resembles a hunter eyeing its long-desired prey, brimming with longing. As he spoke, Han Bing remained vigilant, closely monitoring the beast's every move, prepared for any unforeseen developments. Upon hearing this, Ma Xian was taken aback. His eyes widened, and he glanced again at the standoff between the human and the beast, pondering, treating Gu Yechen as food? This creature truly possesses a hardened mind. Does it not comprehend the formidable presence it faces? I do not appreciate that gaze of yours, Gu Yechen remarked, retaining his smile. Though now laced with a hint of mockery, he directed a seemingly affable, yet subtly warning smile toward the beast. Witnessing Gu Yechen's expression, Ma Xian felt a wave of embarrassment wash over him. He distinctly recalled the last time Gu Yechen wore such a smile while facing the mutated wild bull, which had resulted in its immediate demise. He silently bid farewell to the beast, convinced it was destined for ruin. However, in a twist of fate, the creature appeared oblivious to the impending danger. Upon hearing Gu Yechen's voice, it showed no sign of fear nor any inclination to retreat. Instead, it defiantly locked eyes with Gu Yechen, its greed palpable, utterly unmasked. Gu Yechen, perceiving the situation, allowed a subtle smile to grace his lips. Harnessing his spiritual energy, he conjured a colossal palm, radiating a gentle yet potent light, and swiftly brought it down upon the creature's rear. The beast, sensing the imminent threat, let out an enraged roar, attempting to evade the sudden assault. Yet Gu Yechen and Appo's speed was unparalleled, leaving the creature no chance for a timely defense. It could only watch helplessly as the spiritual palm descended upon it. A resounding clap echoed across the area. Gu Yechen gazed at the creature with a playful glint in his eye, his tone teasing as he remarked, I did warn you in advance. I suggest you regard your gaze with more respect. I do not appreciate being scrutinized in such a manner. The beast, seemingly comprehending Gu Yechen and Appo's words, took a small step back after the forceful slap. Nevertheless, it continued to fixate on Gu Yechen, its gaze having somewhat tempered, yet still viewing him as its quarry, unwilling to relinquish its intent. Thus, the two beings maintained their gaze for a minute. Ultimately, the beast succumbed to its primal desires, emitting a low growl as it charged once more at Gu Yechen. In its perception, fortune favors the bold. If it could consume this human, it would achieve a monumental leap in strength, reigning as the master of this domain. Gu Yechen shook his head in resignation, internally lamenting the beast's obstinacy. Unfazed, he raised his hand, meeting the charging monster with an open palm. The creature felt an overwhelming force bearing down upon it, utterly insurmountable. Its massive form was slammed to the ground, the impact creating a deep crater as the earth buckled beneath it. Am I extending you a courtesy? Gu Yechin maintained his smile, though his eyes harbored a glimmer of frost, his tone seemingly amiable, yet thick with warning. The beast, exerting considerable effort, finally extricated itself from the crater. It shook its head, striving to regain clarity. That last strike had left it dizzy. Now, as it regarded Gu Yechin, a flicker of wariness crept into its gaze. The mere fraction of spiritual energy Gu Yechin had applied had utterly overwhelmed it, leaving it in a state of disarray. It seemed to be afraid. Han Bing gazed at the scene before him, unable to restrain himself from speaking. If it were you facing Gu Yechin, would you not feel fear? Ma Xian countered. Upon hearing this, Han Bing immediately fell silent, contemplating inwardly that if he were to confront Gu Yechin, he would have no chance of victory whatsoever. He feared that even with the most advanced mech at his disposal, he would scarcely measure up to even 1% of Gu Yechin's formidable prowess. Chapter 436. Stubbornness. I offer you a chance. As long as you cease to recklessly influence others and no longer pose a threat to the populace, I shall grant you your freedom. Gu Yechin spoke with a calm demeanor, his voice devoid of emotion. He held a certain intrigue for this beast, for it was his first encounter with such a unique two-headed creature. Prime Minister Ma, what does Mr. Gu mean by this? Why spare it? If it breaks through to the fourth tier, it will only complicate matters further. Han Bing exclaimed, anxiety etched across his face, struggling to comprehend Gu Yechin and Appo's decision. Ma Xian shook his head helplessly, equally perplexed by Gu Yechin's reasoning. Logically, this beast had already inflicted considerable harm. It ought to be dealt with swiftly lest it spawn further troubles in the future. However, the beast showed no gratitude. It let out an enraged roar directed at Gu Yechin, as if to challenge his words, and charged forward recklessly. In its mind, devouring Gu Yechin was of paramount importance. Should it succeed, not only would it evolve, but the human's feeble attacks, akin to mere tickles, would no longer pose a significant threat to it. Stubborn and irredeemable. Gu Yechin shook his head, unable to suppress his disbelief, reflecting. This beast, akin to certain individuals, remained oblivious to its circumstances, intent only on its own demise. Both Ma Xian and Han Bing were equally astonished by the beast's choice. Gu Yechin had already shown intent to spare it. Yet it chose to disregard this mercy and lunged at him without hesitation, leaving them bewildered as to why the creature was so determined to consume Gu Yechin. Without further hesitation, Gu Yechin's resolve hardened. He slowly raised his hand, his spiritual energy swirling rapidly at his fingertips, coalescing into a brilliant bolt of lightning. This flash of lightning, imbued with an overwhelming pressure, surged towards the beast with such speed that it was nearly imperceptible, leaving only a trail of light in its wake. The lightning, carrying a formidable force, pierced through the beast and Appo's chest, emerging from the other side. In an instant, blood gushed forth, splattering onto the ground like a crimson spray. The creature's eyes widened in disbelief as it stared at the wound from which blood flowed incessantly, feeling its life force ebbing with each drop. It had never anticipated that it, a creature on the cusp of the fourth tier, could so easily fall to the hands of what appeared to be a mere youth. I told you to surrender. You insisted on courting death. Gu Yechin's gaze turned frigid, the earlier kindness evaporating, leaving only a chilling indifference. The beast finally grasped the gravity of its error, recognizing that this human, capable of conjuring lightning, was no ordinary foe. It attempted to struggle and flee, but its injuries rendered it immobile. Well then, it is time to bid farewell. May your journey be peaceful, Gu Yechin remarked, turning to leave. Just then, as if recalling something, he raised his hand once more. A colossal wave of spiritual energy descended from above, transforming into an enormous spectral hand that crushed the beast into a pulpy mass, mercifully ending its suffering. With the creature and Appo's demise, the atmosphere around them seemed to lighten considerably. Ma Xian and Han Bing exchanged glances, both awestruck by Gu Yechin's prowess. A beast that had left them helpless with conventional weaponry had proven utterly defenseless against him. Yechin, we are truly indebted to you. Had you not intervened in time, the consequences would have been unthinkable. Ma Xian approached, gratitude evident in his expression. Prime Minister Ma, you are too kind. It was my duty. With the resurgence of spiritual energy, we must brace ourselves for similar crises that are sure to arise, Gu Yechin replied. His expression grave. Indeed, this incident has sounded a clarion call. We must expedite our research and response measures regarding the various scenarios post-resurgence. Ma Xian concurred with a nod. Yes, moving forward, we need to devise strategies to enhance the overall strength of our nation, empowering both practitioners and ordinary citizens to bolster their self-defense capabilities, Gu Yechin stated. His gaze fixed on Ma Xian. Absolutely, this is indeed a pressing matter. However, it is no simple task. Ma Xian frowned slightly, acknowledging the complexity of elevating collective strength. I will do my utmost to assist. The Zixiao sect will also lend its full support. We can begin by nurturing more practitioners, imparting cultivation methods to enhance their abilities. Gu Yechin proposed. That would be splendid. With your assistance, our confidence is greatly bolstered, Ma Xian replied, a smile of relief illuminating his face. Let us proceed with this plan. I must now return for meditation. The next time I emerge, it may be amidst the gravest of circumstances. Gu Yechen's demeanor turned serious, uncertain about the strength of the impending interdimensional threat. If even he could not withstand it, the situation would be dire indeed. Ma Xian nodded, aware of the importance of Gu Yechen's preparations for what lay ahead, thus resolved to exert every effort to enhance the strength of their nation to avert an insurmountable crisis 6 months hence. Chapter 437. Jiang Qingyin's breakthrough. While seated upon returning to the Zishu sect, Gu Yechen furrowed his brows. The sect was unexpectedly lively, and he sensed the presence of individuals whose energies did not belong to the Zishu sect, leaving him puzzled. He hovered above the sect, refraining from descending, wishing to discern the intentions of these visitors. At the entrance of the grand hall, a group of over 10 individuals stood, their expressions grim as they gazed toward the hall before stepping inside. Jiang Qingyan occupied the high seat, smiling at the newcomers, and inquired, "Friends, may I ask the purpose of your visit?" The individuals turned their gazes toward Jiang Qingyan, their eyes glinting with a hint of malice. They had come seeking vengeance, having suddenly discovered that a member of their family had perished within the Zishu sect, and this matter required resolution. My name is Huang Shan, the head of the Huang family from Zhejiang province. One of our kin, Huang Xiao, has unexpectedly died within your Zishu sect. I trust you will provide us with an explanation, or else do not blame my family for seeking retribution, Huang Shan declared, his countenance dark as he fixed his gaze upon Jiang Qingyan. Despite being taken aback by her exquisite beauty, it did little to soften his heart. Jiang Qingyan's expression turned icy upon hearing this. The audacity of demanding an explanation from the Zishu sect ignited a surge of anger within her. Are you threatening us? She narrowed her eyes, a beautiful smile gracing her lips, yet it carried an undercurrent of pressure. Unmoved, Huang Shan remained resolute, for he had reached the pinnacle of foundation establishment and felt no threat from Jiang Qingyan. You may consider this. If the Zishu sect fails to provide us with an explanation, do not blame me for dismantling your sect and eradicating you in the process, he retorted dismissively. The elders of the Zishu sect, upon hearing this, felt a surge of fury and rose in unison, their murderous intent directed at Huang Shan. The combined aura of several foundation establishment practitioners overwhelmed many from the Huang family. This scene astonished Huang Shan. He had not anticipated the Zishu sect to conceal such strength. Even he, at the pinnacle of foundation establishment, would struggle against the combined might of 8 practitioners. How about this? Let us select 2 individuals to compete. If I win, you must marry me, Huang Shan proposed, his gaze fixed on Jiang Qingyan, enunciating each word, while women held no sway over him. The idea of having someone like Jiang Qingyan was appealing. Fury erupted within Jiang Qingyan at his words, and she swiftly struck out, for she belonged solely to Gu Yechen, and no one had the right to utter such words to her unless they wished for death. Huang Shan, taken aback by her immediate response, quickly defended against her attack, though his hand stung. To think she possesses such strength, I must have her, Huang Shan mused internally, initially seeking mere amusement but now recognizing Jiang Qingyan's potential. What had been a mere warning from Jiang Qingyan had not utilized her full power. Should he continue to be ungrateful, she would not hesitate to let a few more members of the Huang family perish. You are quite impressive. I find you intriguing. I hope you will grant me a chance. Once married, I shall treat you well, Huang Shan leered at Jiang Qingyan. Just as Jiang Qingyan was about to erupt, a deep voice interrupted. Who do you claim you wish to marry? Recognizing the voice, Jiang Qingyan felt a twinge of anxiety but fixed her gaze on its source. Huang Shan, too, turned towards the voice, his expression grave, aware that though the figure had not yet appeared, the resonance of the voice was unmistakable. Who dares to play tricks? Huang Shan bellowed, his aura as a pinnacle foundation establishment cultivator radiating outward. This is Zishu sect. It is not your place to act recklessly, Jiang Qingyan declared, striking the armrest of her chair, unleashing her own peak foundation establishment energy, which even hinted at a breakthrough to the Golden Core realm. Huang Shan was taken aback, realizing Jiang Qingyan's power surpassed his own. Head of the Huang family, do you not regard the Zishu sect? Jiang Qingyan's expression darkened, her previously warm demeanor replaced with a chilling intensity that made the Huang family members wary. Jiang sect leader, if I recall correctly, you are the only one at the pinnacle of foundation establishment in the Zishu sect. While our Huang family boasts over a dozen with mid-level celestial roots, including one of exceptional caliber. What do you believe gives the Zishu sect the standing to contend with us? Huang Shan spoke with pride. Jiang Qingyan smiled faintly. She possessed a celestial root of mortal and immortal lineage, far superior to mere exceptional roots. You seem to think we of the Zishu sect are powerless against you, she said, her smile tinged with a hint of menace. You have slain our Huang family member Huang Xiao. I shall not demand much. I have heard that the Zishu sect possesses spirit stones. Compensate us with 100,000 high-grade spirit stones, or you shall marry me, and this matter will be considered resolved, Huangshan proposed, his expression smug, convinced the Zixiao sect could not muster such an amount. Jiang Qingyan shook her head. You truly seek death. Her aura erupted, and she effortlessly broke through to the golden core realm, transcending any obstacles in an instant. Huangshan stared in disbelief as Jiang Qingyan transformed, her energy radiating a formidable presence that even he found daunting. He stood dumbfounded, wondering how she could achieve such a breakthrough while seated, seemingly unprepared, as if divine providence had favored her. Jiang sect leader. You do believe I was merely jesting, do you not? Huangshan's face turned awkwardly pale, trembling, his tension palpable. Chapter 438. Jiang Qingyan takes action. Master Huang. Your complexion seems rather unwell, Jiang Qingyan remarked, a subtle smile gracing her lips, though her eyes betrayed a clear disdain. As a cultivator, your physical constitution should be extraordinary, rendering ordinary ailments powerless against you. Could it be that you are afflicted by some peculiar illness, or perhaps a mere cold? Master Jiang. I just recalled that I have pressing matters to attend to. I shall take my leave now. No need for you to see me off. Huangshan suddenly sprang to his feet, hurriedly clasping his fists in a gesture of respect, his face awash with urgency. He felt an overwhelming sense of panic, as if he had unwittingly stepped into a den of dragons and tigers, where lingering even a moment longer could spell disaster for his life. Why the haste to depart? Just moments ago, you entered with such bravado, spewing boastful words, yet now you appear as timid as a mouse. An elder chuckled, though his gaze grew increasingly frigid, clearly provoked by Jiang Qingyan's utter disregard for their presence. Before the elder could finish his taunt, Jiang Qingyan elegantly waved her hand, unleashing a formidable pressure that surged towards the Huang family like an unstoppable tide. In an instant, the members of the Huang family were as if crushed by an invisible mountain, their legs buckling beneath them, forcing them to kneel in unison. Jiang Qingyan, do not overstep your bounds. Though you have attained the golden core realm and possess formidable strength, you cannot wantonly slay the innocent. Otherwise, the laws of Huagua will not spare you. Huangshan grit his teeth, struggling to maintain his half-kneeling position under the immense pressure, his eyes glowering at Jiang Qingyan, brimming with resentment. At that moment, a fierce rage ignited within him. If he could only escape this situation with a glimmer of hope. He vowed to raise the purple cloud sect to the ground and exact revenge on Jiang Qingyan, for his heart could not tolerate the humiliation he felt. Humph. Since you dared to provoke my purple cloud sect, you should have anticipated the consequences. Moreover, the purple cloud sect now stands independent of Huagua and Appos' jurisdiction, unbound by its laws. You lack even this fundamental understanding and still brazenly intrude. How utterly foolish, Jiang Qingyan scoffed, her expression dripping with disdain. Her countenance remained impassive as she surveyed the Huang family, and then an even more terrifying pressure descended upon them. Those of the Huang family still in the qi refining stage were instantly obliterated under this force, their forms disintegrating into a mere mist of blood. Not even a scream escaping their lips. You, Huangshan and Appos' eyes widened in shock, witnessing Jiang Qingyan and Appos' ruthless decisiveness. A wave of profound regret washing over him. He had never fathomed that the Purple Cloud sect had severed its ties with Huagua, and his reckless provocation had led both himself and his kin into a dire predicament. Master Jiang, we acknowledge our wrongdoing. I implore you to show mercy. Considering we are all allies facing the impending invasion from another realm, please allow us this one reprieve. Huangshan, truly frightened now, his voice trembling as he struggled to maintain his composure under the overwhelming pressure of the golden core realm. Jiang Qingyan furrowed her brow, her gaze oscillating as if weighing her options. Huangshan, noticing a flicker of hesitation in her expression, felt a surge of hope. He thought to himself, women are indeed soft-hearted and ill-suited for leadership. Perhaps if I feign vulnerability, I may yet escape this calamity. Fairy Jiang, I beseech you, let us go this once. For we truly recognize our errors, he implored, forcing tears from his eyes, his voice laced with a faint sob. However, he completely misjudged Jiang Qingyan and Appos' intentions. Her indecision stemmed from contemplating how to eradicate the Huang family entirely, eliminating this potential threat, and she would not easily let them depart, lest they pose future troubles. You are not worthy to stand alongside us, Jiang Qingyan coldly retorted, then gradually withdrew her oppressive aura. Seeing this, Huangshan breathed a sigh of relief, mistakenly believing that Jiang Qingyan had been swayed by his ploy and decided to spare them. This thought filled him with unwarranted pride, convinced of his own cleverness in finding a glimmer of hope amidst despair. Surely you do not believe that my Qingyan would let you go? Just as Huangshan reveled in his triumph, Gu Yechen appeared beside Jiang Qingyan, his expression tender as he gazed at her with affectionate eyes. Who are you? Huangshan demanded, his heart swelling with an inexplicable fury and jealousy as he observed Jiang Qingyan's gentle demeanor towards Gu Yechen. In that moment, he felt acutely betrayed. In his mind, Jiang Qingyan was a woman he had set his sights on, and even if he could not possess her, She should not display such affection for another man. I hear you intend to marry my Qingyan? Gu Yechen maintained his smile, seemingly amiable, yet harboring a hidden sharpness. As he spoke, he gently caressed Jiang Qingyan's hand, asserting his claim. You. Huang Shan's humiliation surged as he witnessed Gu Yechen's intimate gesture, coupled with Jiang Qingyan's lack of resistance, leaving him feeling as though he had received a stinging slap, drowning in a sense of betrayal. I am Gu Yechen, Jiang Qingyan's partner and the Sword Elder of the Purple Cloud sect. You audaciously claim you wish to marry my woman, yet disregard my authority entirely. Have you sought my consent? Gu Yechen released Jiang Qingyan's hand and stepped toward Huang Shan, each stride amplifying the formidable aura he exuded. Huang Shan was paralyzed by this overwhelming presence, his legs trembling uncontrollably as he stood rooted in place, utterly intimidated. The pressure emanating from this man eclipsed even that of Jiang Qingyan, leaving him gasping for breath. Chapter 439, The Fear of Huang Shan. Well, this is entirely a misunderstanding. I was merely joking with Miss Jiang. I am well aware of my own worth. How could I possibly aspire to someone like her? At this moment, Huang Shan felt an overwhelming sense of despair, regretting ever provoking such a formidable being. He never anticipated encountering Gu Yechen, a figure who instilled genuine fear in him, leaving him utterly defenseless. Oh, are you implying that my Qian is unworthy of you? Gu Yechen's gaze hardened suddenly, a chilling aura enveloping Huang Shan. The intensity in his eyes was unmistakable. It was as if he would not hesitate to extinguish Huang Shan's existence should he utter anything unsatisfactory. And no, that is absolutely not what I meant. I am simply self-aware. I am not worthy of Miss Jiang. It's like a toad wishing to eat swan meat. Huang Shan was genuinely terrified, almost on the verge of tears. Even when faced with Jiang Qian's pressure, he had not felt such dread. Now, he acutely sensed the young man's unfathomable strength, which surpassed even that of Jiang Qian, rendering him as insignificant as an ant before him. Words do not align with your heart. You deserve to be punished. Gu Yechen scoffed coldly, delivering a slap toward Huang Shan. However, he intentionally restrained some of his power. He had no desire to conclude this game so swiftly, as Huang Shan still served a purpose. If he were to kill him outright, the amusement would dissipate. The strike, infused with a trace of spiritual energy, sent Huang Shan flying out of the grand hall. Moments later, Su Shicheng appeared and brought Huang Shan back inside. At this juncture, Huang Shan felt as though Gu Yechen had nearly shattered all the spiritual energy within him. Once a man of considerable cultivation, he now resembled a novice just beginning his journey, utterly incapable of resistance. Speak, do you covet my woman? I advise you to think carefully before responding. This time, it could cost you your life. Gu Yechen's piercing gaze bore into Huang Shan, his right hand gathering an overwhelming amount of spiritual energy, forming a dazzling sphere. Should Huang Shan's answer falter even slightly, he would not hesitate to strike. I have. Huang Shan's face turned ashen, his voice trembling. He recognized that he was inescapably doomed today, and felt that Gu Yechen had merely spared him. Otherwise, he would have surely perished. Bound by Gu Yechen's spiritual force, he found himself utterly unable to escape, merely hoping for a swift end to the torment. Very well, you possess some courage. Acknowledging the truth is commendable. Gu Yechen nodded slightly, somewhat surprised by Huang Shan's honesty. However, this did not imply he would show mercy. Anyone who dared to covet his woman must pay a severe price. Nevertheless, allow me to share a truth with you. Many have coveted my woman, yet without exception, they have all met their demise. A cruel smile crept onto Gu Yechen's lips, his laughter laced with mockery. Huang Shan closed his eyes in despair, fully aware that Gu Yechen would not let him off lightly. He had merely been toying with him, and it was laughable to harbor any hope. At this moment, he felt utterly despondent, merely waiting for Gu Yechen to act and end his pitiful existence. Grant me a swift end. Huang Shan slowly opened his eyes, which were void of life, staring directly at Gu Yechen. Where is your home? How many people reside there? I have heard that your family possesses several individuals with mid-grade spiritual roots, and even some with superior-grade roots. Is this true? Gu Yechen furrowed his brow slightly, a hint of curiosity in his eyes as he fixed his gaze on Huang Shan. Upon hearing this, Huang Shan's heart raced with alarm. He was no fool. The members of his family with exceptional spiritual roots were the future hope of the Huang clan, and he could not possibly divulge their whereabouts. Even if he were to die today, as long as the foundation of the Huang clan remained, their descendants would one day avenge him. I don't know what you are talking about. Our Huang clan has no superior-grade spiritual root individuals. You must be mistaken. Huang Shan hastily denied, a flicker of panic crossing his eyes. Do you refuse to speak? You just uttered something similar. Do you have such a poor memory that you forget so quickly? Gu Yechen's displeasure was evident as his eyes turned icy, instilling fear in Huang Shan. He stepped forward, his aura intensifying, the immense pressure forcing Huang Shan to the ground. I truly do not know. Please do not make this difficult for me. Huang Shan gritted his teeth, struggling against the weight of the pressure. Despite his fear, he understood that revealing his family's location would spell disaster, and he could not relent. It seems you will not shed tears until you see the coffin. Gu Yechen sneered, the sphere of spiritual energy in his hand glowing ominously. He raised his hand, poised to strike. Wait, I can tell you. But you must guarantee the safety of everyone in the Huang clan and ensure no harm comes to them. Otherwise, may the heavens strike you down. Can you swear that? Huang Shan looked at Gu Yechen, his eyes filled with wariness. I believe you have yet to grasp the situation. Do you truly think you are in a position to negotiate terms with me? Gu Yechen's eyes reflected surprise. Did Huang Shan genuinely not comprehend the gravity of his predicament? Then just kill me. I will never speak. Huang Shan's gaze was resolute, and Gu Yechen could see he would not divulge the information. Killing you would be too lenient. Gu Yechen replied with a smile. If you are not going to kill me, then let me go. Huang Shan realized that Gu Yechen would never permit his escape. He was merely indulging in empty words. You may leave, provided you send me the address of your Huang clan. It is not a difficult request. Gu Yechen waved his hand dismissively. You know that is impossible. Do not entertain such thoughts. Huang Shan replied firmly. Are you aware of the term indapos, soul-searching indapos? Gu Yechen smiled slightly. A reminder of what could come if Huang Shan persisted in his defiance. Upon hearing the term soul-searching, Huang Shan indapos' face paled dramatically. He had certainly encountered the concept before, both in novels and reality, causing anxiety to swell within him. Why you mustn't act recklessly. Such things are forbidden. Huang Shan stammered, his unease palpable. Simply speak, and there will be no need for soul-searching. Gu Yechen chuckled. Our Huang clan is located in Zhe province. After uttering this, Huang Shan collapsed to the ground, motionless, fully aware of his dire situation. Zhe province. Gu Yechen furrowed his brow. He had originally intended to retreat and cultivate to enhance his strength, especially with the resurgence of spiritual energy and the impending invasion of otherworldly forces. However, it seemed he needed to venture to Zhe province first. Gu Yechen understood the importance of eradicating threats at their roots. While he possessed formidable strength and was unafraid of any danger, the Zixiao sect was not solely his endeavor. There were many fellow disciples to consider. For the long-term development of the Zixiao sect, it was prudent to resolve potential hazards early on to prevent future complications. You have done well. I will ensure your death is somewhat merciful. A faint smile graced Gu Yechen and Apos' lips as his calm gaze remained fixed on Huang Shan. Weren't you just saying you would spare me? Now you wish to kill me? Huang Shan's eyes widened in fury, glaring at Gu Yechen as if he intended to devour him whole. When did I ever make such a statement? Gu Yechen feigned confusion, tilting his head slightly. He distinctly recalled only threatening Huang Shan that if he did not disclose his family's information, he would resort to soul-searching. Did Huang Shan mistakenly interpret this as a promise? You. Huang Shan's face flushed with anger. He could not contain his trembling finger pointing at Gu Yechen, his chest heaving as he gasped for breath, appearing as though he might collapse at any moment. Pray reflect carefully. Have I ever uttered such words? Gu Yechen remarked with a smile that was both enigmatic and sardonic. Noting how absurdly poor Huang Shan's memory was to entertain such ludicrous thoughts, Huang Shan gritted his teeth, striving to recall every word Gu Yechen had just spoken. Gradually, his complexion turned as pale as a blank sheet of paper. It dawned upon him that he had subconsciously believed that by merely divulging information about the Huang family, he would be granted his freedom, allowing him to vanish without a trace, thus evading any repercussions. However, Gu Yechen had never made such a promise. It was merely a figment of his own wishful thinking. Will you allow me to leave? Although Huang Shan was acutely aware of the slimness of his hope, he could not help but attempt to struggle for his freedom. After all, how could one ascertain the outcome without first making an effort? Your audacity is astounding. Even in such dire circumstances, you still dare to contemplate escape. You came here to provoke us, and if we were to let you go so easily, where would the dignity of the Zixiao sect stand? How could we maintain our position in the cultivation world after the resurgence of spiritual energy? In an instant, Gu Yechen's demeanor turned frigid, akin to the ice of the dead of winter. A chilling aura emanated from his gaze, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet sharply, making everyone present shiver involuntarily at this abrupt shift. What do you intend to do? Huang Shan, fully aware of his impending doom, trembled uncontrollably. His eyes filled with despair and a flicker of malice directed at Gu Yechen. Of course. Gu Yechen deliberately elongated his words, a cold smile gracing his lips as he continued, soul-searching. At the mention of those two words, Huang Shan's visage drained of color, his body quaking violently, as if all strength had been siphoned from him in an instant. He would rather face immediate death than endure the torment of soul-searching. He had encountered descriptions of this process in ancient texts, depicting it as a fate worse than death, where one and Apos' soul would be torn apart inch by inch, ultimately leaving the victim a mere fool. The agony was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Very well, I merely wish to ascertain the precise location of your Huang family. Once concluded, I shall grant you a swift end. Gu Yechen waved his hand dismissively, his tone devoid of emotion, indicating that there was nothing more to discuss. In despair, Huang Shan closed his eyes, realizing that his life was nearing its conclusion and that all hope was lost. Gu Yechen's gaze sharpened, and an overwhelming pressure descended upon Huang Shan. Slowly, he extended his hand, gently placing it upon Huang Shan's forehead. In that instant, Huang Shan's complexion turned increasingly pallid, resembling a blank sheet of paper, as he trembled uncontrollably, his expression contorted in excruciating pain, as though his very soul were being mercilessly torn asunder by an invisible force. After a brief interval, Gu Yechen gradually withdrew his hand from Huang Shan and Appo's forehead. Huang Shan slumped as if all support had vanished, his gaze turning vacant and hollow, as if his soul had departed. Is this insanity? Someone exclaimed in astonishment upon witnessing Huang Shan's state. They had never anticipated that a mere instance of soul-searching could render a once normal individual utterly deranged. The terror of this technique was palpable. No wonder this old fool would rather die than undergo soul-searching. It seems he was quite familiar with its horrors, another remarked with a chuckle, recalling Huang Shan and Appo's terrified demeanor, concluding that he had long been aware of the dreadful nature of soul-searching and possessed a profound cunning. Gu Yechen remained composed, waving his hand, and in an instant, Huang Shan transformed into a cloud of blood mist, dissipating into the ether, leaving only a jade pendant that floated silently in the air. Gu Yechen extended his hand gently, and the pendant seemed to respond to an invisible pull, appearing instantly in his grasp. He examined the pendant closely. Its material was unremarkable, yet it exuded an ancient aura, devoid of any distinctive patterns or fluctuations. Nevertheless, Gu Yechen felt an inexplicable intuition that this pendant was no ordinary object. Observing this, the others cast puzzled glances, for Gu Yechen, the strongest and most knowledgeable among them, deemed the pendant exceptional, yet they could discern nothing remarkable about it. Could it truly be merely an ordinary jade pendant? However, Gu Yechen offered no further explanation, directly placing the pendant into the system space. Subsequently, he turned to the others and said, "Please return to your tasks. Focus on your cultivation and fulfill your duties to prepare for the challenges ahead." Once everyone had departed, Gu Yechen regarded Jiang Qingyan with a puzzled expression and inquired, "Qingyan, what of Chu Xiao and the others?" "They have gone out," expressing a desire to establish an independent sect and develop the Zixiao sect's auxiliary forces. "I believe this is a commendable choice, considering the myriad affairs we must manage within the Zixiao sect. Initially, I was opposed to the idea, but I could not dissuade them," Jiang Qingyan replied with a resigned shrug, a hint of fondness gracing her smile. Chapter 440. Departing for Zhejiang province, she mused that were it not for her obligation to assist Gu Yechen in managing the myriad affairs of the Zixiao sect, she would relish the opportunity to venture out and explore. After all, lingering here for an extended period inevitably breeds a sense of tedium. Her spirit felt far more liberated and unrestrained amidst the vastness of the star sea. Nonetheless, she pondered whether they had adequately prepared. Gu Yechen furrowed his brow, a flicker of concern rippling through his heart. After all, Han Chuxiao and the others were cherished women in his life. Should they encounter peril and succumb, he would be haunted by regret for eternity. They had each brought their respective cultivation techniques and were equipped with earth-grade weapons, along with a considerable supply of precious medicinal pills. Under normal circumstances, this should suffice to mitigate any major issues. Furthermore, their life tokens were securely housed within the Zixiao sect. As long as they remained within the sect, he would be promptly informed should any misfortune befall them. Jiang Qingyan discerned Gu Yechen's unease and softly consoled the young man who had captured her heart. She understood the depth of his affection for their group. The fact that Gu Yechen entrusted her with the management of the Zixiao sect signified his unwavering trust. For this reason alone, Jiang Qingyan would never waver in her resolve. "Indeed, should anything arise, be sure to inform me at once." Gu Yechen gently caressed her cheek, his gaze suffused with tenderness, his tone softening somewhat. "Rest assured, if you are not within the sect, I will rush to your side immediately," Jiang Qingyan playfully chided, fully aware of Gu Yechen's concern for them. "Xiaoyan, thank you." Gu Yechen gazed deeply into Jiang Qingyan's eyes before enveloping her in a gentle embrace and lowering his head to press his lips against hers. Jiang Qingyan momentarily froze, then gradually closed her eyes, surrendering to this tender moment. The two remained entwined for a while, until Jiang Qingyan gently pushed Gu Yechen away. Her cheeks flushed like the evening glow, stunningly beautiful. She had not anticipated such intimacy from Gu Yechen in such an open space, although there were currently no onlookers. The thought of being caught by someone sent a wave of anxiety through her. "Please, go attend to your matters. Once you arrive in Zhejiang province, do take care of your safety," she urged, gently nudging him toward the exit. She needed to seize the time for her own cultivation, as only by doing so could she assist Gu Yechen. If she continued to dwell on their shared moments and that sweetness, she feared she would become utterly addicted. "Very well, once I complete this task, I shall enter seclusion. All matters of the sect will be entrusted to you," Gu Yechen said earnestly, his gaze imbued with trust. With that, he vanished in a flash, leaving no trace of his presence. In Zhejiang province, the Huang family hall was enveloped in a stifling atmosphere, one that rendered breathing laborious. Moments ago, a disciple responsible for overseeing the life tokens had rushed in, panic-stricken, to report that numerous tokens belonging to their kin had shattered, an unequivocal indication of their demise. "Elder, where have my father and the others gone? What has transpired?" A young man, his face aflame with anger, glared at a silver-haired elder seated at the head of the hall, his voice quivering with emotion. The Huang family, a secluded lineage, had only recently re-emerged following the resurgence of spiritual energy, poised to carve a niche in this new era. Yet, no one had anticipated that so soon after, the family head would suddenly pass away, plunging the entire clan into grief and fury. "The family head has gone to the Zixiao sect. One of our elders there suffered a sudden life token shattering, prompting the family head to seek answers. However, what transpired thereafter remains a mystery. As all their tokens shattered in succession, with the family heads being the last," the elder replied gravely, his brow furrowed in deep concern as he regarded the youth. "Xiao Yu, as the family head's son and the current young master of the Huang family, the rise and fall of our clan now rests upon your shoulders," the elder said, his eyes filled with expectation and sorrow. He understood that in this world where strength reigned supreme, the Huang family faced a daunting path ahead, and the burden on Xiao Yu was immense. Xiao Yu clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white, gritting his teeth as he declared, "Elder, fear not. I shall uncover the truth behind my father's demise and ensure the Zixiao sect pays for their actions." A glint of determination and resolve ignited in his eyes, a flame of vengeance burning fiercely within. Having been cherished within the Huang family since childhood, with his father nurturing him with high hopes, the sudden death of his father felt like a bolt from the blue. Yet, he knew he could not succumb to despair. He must rise to shoulder the responsibilities of the Huang family. "You must not act impulsively, young master. The Zixiao sect wields considerable power, and our family is presently in a weakened state. We cannot afford reckless actions. We must devise a long-term strategy, restore our family's strength, and then contemplate our next steps," the elder hastily advised, aware of Xiao Yu's emotional turmoil but acutely mindful of their precarious situation. "I understand, elder. Yet, I vow that unless this grudge is avenged, I, Huang Yu, shall not be at peace. I will dedicate myself to my cultivation, enhance my strength, and wait for the opportune moment to ensure the Zixiao sect pays for their blood debts." Xiao Yu inhaled deeply, suppressing his grief and fury, and spoke resolutely. "Indeed, your determination is a blessing for the Huang family. For now, rest well and adjust your state of mind. Additionally, we must swiftly gather the elite disciples of our clan to reorganize and bolster our defenses against any further actions from the Zixiao sect or other sects," the elder nodded, a glimmer of satisfaction in his eyes. He recognized Xiao Yu's intelligence and maturity, believing he would grasp the gravity of their current predicament. At that moment, Gu Yechen had already appeared high above Zhejiang province. Standing on his flying sword, he surveyed the landscape below, revealing the true abundance of mountains in the region. With a flicker, Gu Yechen descended to the ground, emerging from an alleyway, where he immediately spotted a familiar face, one he had seen in Huang Shan's memories. A notorious figure of ill repute. Casually, Gu Yechen picked up a stone from the ground, and with a slight exertion of force, the stone pierced the man's skull, causing brain matter to splatter. Many nearby were left in a state of bewilderment. Chapter 441. The Practitioner According to Huang Shan's Memories. Gu Yechen set forth toward the Huang family. However, just as he was about to embark on his journey, he sensed something amiss and vanished from his location. Simultaneously, a tense atmosphere enveloped the airport in Zhejiang province. A plane bound for Zhejiang had lost control, plummeting at an alarming speed, and no matter what maneuvers the captain attempted, he could not regain altitude. Hangzhou, this is Zhejiang Airlines Flight 8C-3500. My aircraft has suddenly gone completely out of control and is unable to ascend. I am attempting to head toward an uninhabited area, the captain reported, his expression calm despite the chaos. At the Hangzhou control tower, everyone felt a weight in their hearts as they watched the aircraft descend rapidly, feeling helpless yet pained by the sight. The fate of the plane rested solely on the captain, yet it seemed as if something beyond their control was preventing it from gaining altitude. Flight 3500. Do you have anything to report? The tower inquired, unable to contain their curiosity. Nothing. The farewell has already been written, so there is nothing more to say. The captain replied with a stoic demeanor. At that moment, Gu Yechen appeared beside the aircraft, locking eyes with the captain. The passengers on board caught a fleeting glimpse of Gu Yechen, igniting a flicker of hope within them. The captain stared at Gu Yechen as though he had seen a ghost. Who else could fly in the sky unarmed and right before him? He wiped his tears, convinced that this was merely a figment of his imagination in his final moments. There is someone in front of me, the captain shouted to the control tower. His words left everyone bewildered, and soon they felt a deep sympathy for the captain, who had exerted every effort to pilot the plane yet was now facing failure and hallucinations. Gu Yechen extended his hand, and in an instant, the plane ceased its descent. hovering steadily 800 meters above the ground. The captain gazed at Gu Yechen in terror, while all aboard were left speechless, their eyes transfixed on this miraculous savior. Is everyone all right? Gu Yechen and Apos' tranquil voice resonated within the cabin. Outside, he appeared gentle and graceful, evoking a sense of elegance that stirred the imagination. Upon witnessing the plane stabilize at 800 meters, the control tower was momentarily stunned before erupting into a fervent round of applause, quickly re-establishing contact with the captain. What? You must be joking, the staff exclaimed, taken aback by the captain and Apos' words, which left them in utter disbelief. What did he say? A director inquired. The captain of Flight 3500 claims he may have encountered an immortal who intervened to save them, and they are now heading our way, came the astonished reply. What is going on? You haven't been drinking, have you? The director regarded the staff with a serious expression, bewildered by the captain's daytime reverie. Director, have you forgotten? We live in an era of cultivation. If a practitioner possesses profound skills, they could indeed halt a plane mid-flight, a woman interjected. This reminder sparked realization in the director, who promptly reported the matter upward and instructed everyone to prepare for the arrival of Flight 3500. Gu Yechen's appearance instilled hope among the passengers, who gazed out the window at him, perceiving him as nothing short of a celestial being. In a blink, Gu Yechen materialized in the first-class cabin, which was presently occupied solely by a woman, accompanied by a few flight attendants who were equally startled by the sudden appearance. However, the woman remained composed, having regained her calm after the earlier crisis. Yet, upon seeing Gu Yechen, she was still taken aback, after all. It was not every day one encountered someone capable of manifesting in midair. Please inform the captain to navigate normally toward the airport. With me on board. There will be no issues. I will depart once we land, Gu Yechen instructed the head attendant, before closing his eyes to absorb spiritual energy and commence his cultivation. The woman observed Gu Yechen's actions with intrigue. She, too, was a practitioner and could discern that he was indeed cultivating, and of a notably high caliber. Noticing her gaze, Gu Yechen kept his eyes closed and inquired, Beautiful lady, is there something you wish to discuss? And no, nothing at all, she stammered, flustered at having been caught staring. May I inquire as to your name? I have yet to express my gratitude for your life-saving intervention, she said respectfully. Gu Yechen did not open his eyes, but posed a question in return. And what might your name be? Shouldn't one introduce themselves before asking for another's name? The woman paused for a moment, then smiled and replied, My surname is Huang. I am Huang Xueting. Huang? Gu Yechen pondered internally. Could it be mere coincidence? Gu Yechen, he stated, still keeping his eyes closed, as he felt no fear in revealing his name to the world. What a lovely name, and it sounds quite familiar. Huang Xueting remarked with a gentle smile, her beauty radiating magnificently, enchanting all with her every expression. Mr. Gu, may I ask how you managed to resolve this predicament? Huang Xueting prompted, sensing an opportunity. If someone of Gu Yechen and Apos' caliber were to join the Huang family, it would undoubtedly bolster their strength, alleviating her own familial pressures. Are you intrigued? Gu Yechen opened his eyes, regarding Huang Xueting with a friendly demeanor. He had deduced her connection to the Huang family, yet she seemed to lack prominence. I am merely curious as to how you addressed this situation and how you appeared here so suddenly, she replied evenly. You are also a practitioner. If you understand such matters, is there a need for further explanation? Gu Yechen remarked, immediately recognizing her identity. Huang Xueting was taken aback, realizing that despite her efforts to conceal her identity, Gu Yechen had seen through her faade. Mr. Gu, your strength is impressive. You discern my status as a practitioner with just a glance, she smiled, acknowledging his insight. Not particularly. It was merely a conjecture, Gu Yechen replied calmly, turning his gaze toward her without revealing any inner turmoil. At that moment, he felt detached, merely engaged in an ordinary conversation. Mr. Gu, how is it that you happen to be here? One would expect a person of your stature to avoid such commonplace situations, Huang Xueting inquired, her curiosity piqued. A man like Gu Yechen, powerful and distinguished, was irresistibly captivating. There is no extraordinary reason. I simply happened to be in Zhejiang province for some matters and fortuitously encountered this crisis along the way, so I offered my assistance, Gu Yechen said, his expression untroubled, regarding his intervention as a mere act of kindness. After all, an aircraft carries the lives of hundreds, each life intertwined with a family behind it. Being able to extend a helping hand in critical moments is, for him, a way to accumulate merit. Upon hearing this, Huang Xueting and Apos' lips curled into a gentle smile, her eyes gleaming with warmth, resembling a slender crescent moon. Though merely 20, she radiated a unique intellectual charm characteristic of a mature woman. Their encounter felt like fate. She wondered if it might be possible to befriend Mr. Gu, for the strong always command admiration. Huang Xueting and Apos' laughter was enchanting, her gaze revealing admiration and affection for Gu Yechen. In this world, soon to revert to a survival of the fittest, strength reigns supreme. and Gu Yeqing and Apos' formidable prowess drew her irresistibly closer. You admire me? Gu Yeqing expressed mild surprise, a flicker of astonishment crossing his eyes. In his experience, those from hidden aristocratic families often exuded pride and self-importance, rarely displaying such sincere admiration for others. Moreover, she belonged to the Huang family, the very target of his visit to Zhejiang province. A myriad of thoughts flitted through Gu Yeqing's mind, even contemplating whether to first secure her in a room and then find an opportunity to deal with the Huang family. Gu Yeqing regarded Huang Xueting with a hint of helplessness. She nodded gently, her gaze resolute. To her, such a choice felt entirely normal. She genuinely sensed an unparalleled aura of strength emanating from Gu Yeqing, a mysterious power unlike anything she had ever encountered. Who does not admire the strong? My ambition is to become a true powerhouse, and naturally, I seek guidance from the mightiest in this world. You, sir, are the strongest person I have encountered thus far. Huang Xueting and Apos' expression was grave. Her words were not mere jest, but a heartfelt yearning for strength. Do you know who I am? Gu Yeqing and Apos' gaze remained calm, his tone flat, yet laden with meaning. I do not know, but I can sense that you are no villain, Huang Xueting replied, her eyes filled with unmasked admiration. In her heart, Gu Yeqing and Apos' willingness to assist had already proven his kindness and righteousness. What is your relationship with your family? Gu Yeqing and Apos' penetrating gaze fixed on her, as if he could see through to her very soul. At the mention of family, Huang Xueting's expression darkened instantly. Anger surged in her once gentle eyes, and her demeanor shifted abruptly from tender to resolute. Gu Yeqing was taken aback by the intensity of her emotional transformation, but he remained silent, observing her with a hint of curiosity. Taking a deep breath, Huang Xueting strove to regain her composure, though a trace of unidentifiable sorrow lingered in her gaze. This subtle sadness might escape the notice of an ordinary person, but Gu Yeqing's keen perception could not miss it. He recognized that she harbored unspoken troubles, certainly not trivial in nature. It seems your mood is less than favorable, and your relationship with the Huang family is not harmonious, Gu Yeqing noted, refraining from offering empty words of consolation, aware that they were still strangers to one another, with no deep bond yet formed. The Huang family. Though I bear the surname Huang and am ostensibly one of them, I have never been regarded as a true member. Huang Xueting gazed out at the cotton-like clouds, her thoughts drifting back to the past, enveloping her in sorrow, as if she had touched the deepest, most painful memories of her heart. My parents devoted themselves to the Huang family, sacrificing even their lives, yet in the end, they were denied the chance to return home. The people of the Huang family, driven by selfish desires, deserve their fate. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, her voice quivering. She had endured torment at the hands of the Huang family since childhood, her path to growth strewn with thorns. Just 2 years ago, the Huang family sought to marry her off to a dandy from another hidden family for their own interests. Unable to bear her fate, she resolutely escaped from the Huang family and had not returned since. Now, through her relentless efforts, she had established her own sect and successfully reached the foundational stage. Though modest in size, it was the fruit of her labor. At this moment, she felt she had sufficient strength to return and seek justice from the Huang family. It seems I might accompany her to see, Gu Yeqing pondered internally, intrigued by such family feuds. Moreover, this opportunity to delve deeper into the Huang family could serve his own objectives well. Mr. Gu, I know you are no ordinary individual. May I inquire where you cultivate your skills? With the prowess you have displayed, it must be challenging to find an adversary in this world. Huang Xueting regarded Gu Yeqing with envy, her eyes brimming with longing. How she wished to be as powerful as him. Had she been so, the Huang family would never have dared to treat her and her parents in that manner. Suddenly, an idea struck Huang Xueting. If she could keep Gu Yeqing by her side and leverage his strength, she might protect herself against the Huang family. However, persuading him to lend his assistance posed a dilemma. After all, she had witnessed Gu Yeqing's capabilities. Money would likely mean nothing to him, and he would surely lack for martial arts and elixirs. Contemplating these matters, Huang Xueting felt a wave of frustration wash over her. Currently, she was merely at the early foundational stage, while the head of the Huang family had reached the later stages 2 years prior. If she were to return recklessly, danger would undoubtedly await her. Chapter 442. A transaction. She bit her lip slightly, gazing at Gu Yeqing with a hint of anticipation in her eyes. Summoning her courage, she spoke, Mr. Gu, I would like to ask for your assistance, and I am willing to pay. Gu Yeqing raised an eyebrow, somewhat surprised that Huang Xueting genuinely sought help. However, he was curious about her request. You wish to employ me? What is it that you need? Feel free to elaborate. But be warned, my fees are rather steep, he replied with a subtle smirk, relishing the opportunity to indulge in the gossip while resolving matters. I need you to protect me as I go to the Huang family. Upon completion, I am willing to pay 50 billion. What do you think? Huang Xueting said, her face tense as she looked at Gu Yeqing, her hands unconsciously clenching. Her heart raced with anxiety, hoping he would agree. However, Gu Gu Yechen merely frowned slightly before slowly responding. Are you suggesting that I act as both your bodyguard and enforcer? Huang Xueting's face flushed slightly, feeling a wave of embarrassment as she cast a fleeting glance at him before lowering her head in shame. 50 billion was the entirety of her assets, the fruit of her labor and intelligence accumulated over 2 years after leaving the Huang family. Huang Xueting stammered, struggling to find the right words. Her mind a whirlwind of confusion. Hearing a hint of seriousness in Gu Yechen and Appo's tone startled her. She feared offending him, which would mean losing everything. Gu Yechen waved his hand dismissively, his smile growing more pronounced as he said, "It matters not. However, I am not particularly interested in money. Do you possess anything else of value?" He had his own plans. Huang Xueting's proposal aligned perfectly with the system's requirements, as engaging with her would grant him a chance at a lottery draw. Of course, if she were unwilling, he would not press the matter, for it was merely an idea he was contemplating. Huang Xueting was momentarily taken aback by his words. She racked her brain, realizing that anything she could offer would likely be deemed insignificant in the eyes of someone as formidable as Gu Yechen. What could possibly sway him to assist her? Gu Yechen slowly closed his eyes, choosing not to look at Huang Xueting, instead contemplating how to resolve matters with the Huang family once they arrived. In his view, the Huang family members were selfish and ruthless, willing to employ any means to achieve their ends, which hardly qualified them as virtuous individuals. After a brief moment of reflection, Huang Xueting suddenly seemed to have an epiphany, her heart racing. Could her most treasured possession truly be used as a bargaining chip? But was it worth it? As this thought crossed her mind, her heart raced like a startled deer, and her cheeks flushed crimson. Stealing a glance at Gu Yechen, she noted his striking features and captivating aura, making it hard to look away. If she were to offer her first time in exchange for his help, perhaps she would not be at a complete loss. Taking a deep breath, Huang Xueting gradually reached a resolution. She bit her lip and, summoning her courage, said, "Mr. Gu, I have something else I could offer, though it is extremely precious to me." Her voice trailed off, growing softer. Her cheeks flushed with both shyness and anticipation. Gu Yechen slowly opened his eyes, his gaze settling on Huang Xueting. Noticing her demeanor, he could already piece together her thoughts. He did not respond immediately, merely observing her with a hint of curiosity. Feeling the weight of his silence, Huang Xueting grew increasingly anxious, but with no turning back. She inhaled deeply and mustered all her courage to say, "Mr. Gu, I am willing to offer my virginity in exchange for your help. I know this may seem presumptuous, but I truly have no other recourse." With that, she lowered her head, unable to face his expression, her heart a tumult of apprehension regarding his reaction. Gu Yechen raised an eyebrow, somewhat taken aback by her decision. Yet, he understood that in the harsh realities of life, individuals often resorted to desperate measures to achieve their goals. He regarded Huang Xueting, a complex expression flickering in his eyes, and then spoke slowly. "Are you certain? This is no trivial matter. Once the decision is made, there is no turning back." Huang Xueting clenched her teeth, nodding resolutely. "I am certain. Mr. Gu, I have nothing else to offer, and I am out of options. I only wish to seek justice for my parents and ensure the Huang family pays for their transgressions." "Very well, I shall grant your request," Gu Yechen replied, his tone softening as he looked at Huang Xueting with a hint of gentleness. Upon hearing his agreement, a wave of elation surged within her, quickly followed by anxiety. This meant she would soon lose her virginity to Gu Yechen. The cherished purity she had preserved for over 20 years would vanish today, igniting a sense of bashfulness within her. The flight attendants in first class did not approach passengers unless assistance was requested, so no one was aware of the unfolding events between Gu Yechen and Huang Xueting. Gu Yechen took a seat beside Huang Xueting, causing her to feel a rush of nerves. Despite her acquiescence, they had only just met, and the tension was palpable. "Do not be anxious. Relax," Gu Yechen said, noticing her apprehensive demeanor. He gently pulled her into his embrace, his voice tender and his gaze warm, stirring deep emotions within her. Huang Xueting leaned her head against Gu Yechen's chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. They engaged in no other actions, merely sharing the simplicity of a gentle embrace. Gu Yechen, captivated by her luscious lips, eventually lowered his head and kissed her. Huang Xueting, momentarily stunned, thought, "Is my first kiss slipping away in such a muddled manner?" Yet, she found herself drawn to the sensation, gradually responding to his kiss. Her heart racing as she struggled to catch her breath, lacking any experience. It was Gu Yechen who guided her through the moment. After 2.5 minutes, Gu Yechen released Huang Xueting, allowing her to rest against his shoulder while he wrapped his arm around her waist. Following their intimate contact, Huang Xueting no longer resisted his closeness. Instead, she felt a burgeoning anticipation. "Do you understand what will happen once this matter concludes?" Gu Yechen asked, placing a gentle kiss on her forehead. "Rest assured, I will not cause you any trouble. Once this is over, I will not pursue you further," Huang Xueting replied softly. Leaning against him, her voice tinged with a faint disappointment, she sighed inwardly. lamenting the circumstances that had led her to forge a connection with such an extraordinarily handsome man in this manner. Had she possessed greater strength, she would have boldly confessed her feelings, rather than feeling a bittersweet ache in her heart. That is not a concern. After we share this experience, you will be my woman, and I will protect you. However, should you betray me, I will take more decisive measures, Gu Yechen stated. His gaze unwavering as he regarded her, his tone calm. At his words, Huang Xueting felt a jolt of emotion, tears welling in her eyes. She could hardly believe what she had just heard. Gu Yechen acknowledged her existence? The affirmation of her being his woman and his promise to protect her felt like the warmth of the winter sun piercing through her heart, which had endured countless wounds. And tears of gratitude streamed down her cheeks. From childhood to adulthood, she has existed within a stifling environment. In the Huang family, she endured relentless bullying, her fate entirely beyond her control, even being coerced into an arranged marriage. Had she not mustered every ounce of strength to escape, she would likely have been forced to marry a debonair stranger, plunging into an abyss from which there would be no return. Upon witnessing her distress, Gu Yechen felt a twinge of empathy. He gently reached out, brushing away the tears from her cheeks, his face adorned with a warm smile as he softly inquired, "Why are you crying? If you continue, you'll truly become a little kitten." Huang Xueting was momentarily taken aback, then burst into laughter. She had never anticipated that someone as formidable as Gu Yechen would utter such heartwarming yet playful words. It genuinely caught her off guard. Observing Gu Yechen's demeanor, she felt reassured in her choice, a hint of bashfulness rising within her. "You harbor a grudge against the Huang family, don't you?" Gu Yechen remarked with a smile, seeking to delve deeper. "I hope Mr. Gu can lend me a helping hand," Huang Xueting replied, sensing the airplane gradually descending, her expression growing serious. "Still calling me Mr. Gu?" Gu Yechen feigned a chill in his tone, regarding her with earnestness. Given their newfound intimacy, he believed it was time for her to address him differently. Yechen, Huang Xueting murmured, her cheeks aflame as she spoke softly. Gu Yechen nodded in satisfaction, approving of her adjustment. Soon, the airplane began to decelerate and descend steadily. Inside the airport, everyone watched anxiously as the aircraft approached the ground, their expressions filled with concern. When the plane finally touched down smoothly, the previously poised rescue and medical teams surged forward like arrows released from a bow. After the captain successfully landed and brought the plane to a halt, he felt as though all his strength had been drained, exhaling heavily in relief. Turning to exit the cockpit, he approached Gu Yechen with a solemn expression. "Mr. Gu, I sincerely thank you. It was you who saved the lives of over 200 people." The captain understood that without Gu Yechen's assistance, the landing would never have been so stable, and he felt compelled to convey his gratitude. "It was nothing. Anyone in my position would have acted likewise." Gu Yechen replied with a faint smile, considering it merely a duty and a way to accrue merit by saving so many lives. On board the aircraft, passengers began to disembark in an orderly manner. Airport staff and onlookers gaped, their eyes glued to the plane's door, remaining in awe until the last passenger exited. Speculation abounded regarding how the aircraft, once in peril, had managed to land safely. "Miss Huang." In the crowd, Huang Xueting's driver spotted her immediately, hastily weaving through the throng to her side, pulling her away to avoid unwanted attention. Given Huang Xueting's unique status, excessive scrutiny could lead to unnecessary complications. Inside the airport, the crowd regarded the captain with admiration, attributing the smooth landing to his exceptional piloting skills, thus drawing the swarm of reporters eager for an interview, their cameras flashing incessantly. Yet, only the passengers knew the truth. Despite Gu Yechen's fleeting presence, it was after his arrival that the aircraft miraculously stabilized and landed safely. Although the captain insisted that the credit belonged to Gu Yechen, the reality was undeniable. As Gu Yechen sat in the car, gazing at the scenery rushing past like a slideshow, a whirlwind of thoughts occupied his mind. He had never anticipated forming such an intimate bond with yet another young woman. Despite Huang Xueting's initiative, he felt an inexplicable hesitation within himself. Huang Xueting sat quietly beside Gu Yechen, her head gently resting against his chest. Attuning herself to the rhythm of his steady heartbeat, Gu Yechen tenderly caressed her shoulder, their affectionate demeanor suggesting to any observer that they were a couple deeply enamored with one another. Without delay, Gu Yechen led Huang Xueting to a hotel. As this was part of the remuneration he was to receive, ensuring the task was completed before heading to the Huang family estate to avoid unforeseen complications. As Huang Xueting entered the hotel, her cheeks flushed a vibrant crimson, reminiscent of a splendid sunset. The sight of a young man escorting a young woman to a hotel easily conjured notions of intimacy, and their striking appearance together attracted considerable attention, eliciting envious glances from onlookers. Once inside the room, Huang Xueting tidied herself briefly before retreating to the bathroom for a shower. Moments later, clad in a bathrobe, she settled on the sofa, her gaze fixated on the television. Yet, her eyes continually drifted toward the bathroom. The door of the hotel bathroom possessed a degree of translucence, and under the glow of the bathroom light, Gu Yechen's strong silhouette was clearly visible. Huang Xueting found herself inexplicably captivated by the sight. Her eyes widening in astonishment as she thought, so impressive. Through the door, she could subtly feel Gu Yechen and Apos' powerful presence, a blend of nervousness and anticipation swirling within her. She hesitated, questioning whether she could truly withstand such intensity. However, thoughts of her parents quickly dispelled her uncertainty, replacing it with unwavering determination as she cast aside her worries. Before long, Gu Yechen emerged from the bathroom, his hair damp and clad in a bathrobe. The garment was slightly ajar, revealing glimpses of his enticing physique. Huang Xueting swallowed hard at the sight, unable to deny her overwhelming attraction to him, a surge of desire compelling her to abandon all restraint and share an intimate moment. Do you find it appealing? Gu Yechen teased, observing Huang Xueting's dazed expression with amusement. Flushed, she instinctively nodded, only to realize her reaction and hurriedly averted her gaze, closing her eyes in an attempt to regain her composure. It seems my allure is quite substantial, he quipped, noticing her rapid breathing. You want to ridicule me? Will you? Huang Xueting asked, her expression one of helplessness as she met his gaze, feeling embarrassed that he had caught her in such a moment of infatuation. Not at all. I have had numerous girlfriends, so this is hardly a concern for me, Gu Yechen stated matter-of-factly, never one to conceal his romantic history. Numerous girlfriends? Huang Xueting felt a pang in her heart, an inexplicable sadness washing over her. The atmosphere in the room grew increasingly charged, as if an invisible force was drawing them closer. Gu Yechen gently wrapped his arm around Huang Xueting's waist, the gesture natural, before leaning down to tenderly kiss her lips. Huang Xueting, overwhelmed by the intimacy, clumsily reciprocated, having never experienced such closeness before, allowing Gu Yechen to guide her through the intoxicating joy of the moment. Soon, they laid their hearts bare to one another. Huang Xueting, blushing and anxious, gazed at the unfolding scene, her heart racing as if it were a frightened deer. Are you ready? Gu Yechen gazed tenderly at Huang Xueting, his eyes brimming with affection. With just a gentle nod from her, she would transcend into a true woman. It all hinged upon that single gesture. To her surprise, Huang Xueting felt an overwhelming desire within. After uttering those audacious words, she was taken aback. She never anticipated that amid such tension and intimacy, she would express herself so boldly. No longer hesitating, Gu Yechen's gaze flickered with determination, and he began to act slowly. Huang Xueting's initial frown of anxiety and discomfort gradually transformed into an expression of bliss and enjoyment. This sensation was unprecedented for her, drawing her into its depths involuntarily. As time passed, the fervor subsided, and tranquility enveloped the room. Huang Xueting nestled quietly in Gu Yechen's embrace, a satisfied smile gracing her lips. She looked up at him, her eyes alight with love, and softly murmured, "Yechen, thank you." Gu Yechen gently caressed her hair and responded with warmth, "Silly girl, there is no need for thanks. From this moment forth, I shall protect you and ensure no one harms you again." Huang Xueting nodded slightly, her heart swelling with a sense of security. She realized the profound transformation in her relationship with Gu Yechen. At this moment, she was no longer the isolated and vulnerable woman. She had found a formidable support in him. "How are you feeling? Are you all right?" Gu Yechen asked, a gentle smile illuminating his face as he looked at Huang Xueting with tender affection. Understanding his concern, her cheeks flushed crimson, and she shyly shook her head, softly responding, "I and Apos am fine, but there is still some discomfort." Her voice was soft and tinged with shyness. Filled with compassion, Gu Yechen placed a gentle kiss on her smooth forehead, then slowly took her delicate hand, as soft as jade. Suddenly, a pure stream of spiritual energy flowed from his palm into Huang Xueting's body, like a gentle trickle. This energy, imbued with miraculous healing properties, swiftly alleviated her aches and discomfort, enveloping her in comfort. In an instant, she felt every cell in her body embraced by this soothing sensation, banishing the lingering pain completely. She closed her eyes slightly, savoring this moment of bliss, her heart brimming with reliance on Gu Yechen. "How do you feel?" Gu Yechen playfully brushed his fingers against her petite nose, a gesture of intimacy that made Huang Xueting's face flush once more. Although she had feigned an icy demeanor after leaving the Huang family to protect herself, deep within, she preserved her innocence and tenderness. "Thank you." Huang Xueting slowly opened her eyes, tears of gratitude shimmering within. She understood that the alleviation of her pain was solely due to Gu Yechen's efforts. Despite her joy, she still blushed as she quietly expressed her thanks. "From today onwards, you are my woman, so there is no need for such formality between us." Gu Yechen regarded her earnestly, his gaze filled with affection. In his heart, having established such a close bond with Huang Xueting, he was committed to safeguarding her. "Yes, I understand," Huang Xueting replied softly, her heart resonating with his words. After all, her body and soul had already belonged to the man before her, and unbeknownst to her, her heart had been gradually filled by Gu Yechen. Let us visit the Huang family. It aligns perfectly with my objective this time. Gu Yechen's tone was gentle, yet a subtle hint of menace flickered in his eyes. His purpose for coming was to resolve the Huang family's issues comprehensively, eliminating any potential threats to the Zixiao sect. Upon hearing Gu Yechen's words, Huang Xueting felt a wave of confusion wash over her. While her intent was to seek justice for her parents, the fact that Gu Yechen and Appo's goal coincided with hers left her pondering the implications. Chapter 443, The Huang Family Achin. Was your previous objective also to go to the Huang family? She tilted her head slightly, her beautiful eyes filled with curiosity as she softly inquired. Indeed. I plan to eradicate the Huang family. Will you support me? Gu Yechen's lips curled into a faint smile, his gaze tenderly fixed on Huang Xueting, as if awaiting her response. Eradicate? Huang Xueting and Appo's mouth fell agape in surprise, a tumultuous wave stirring within her. Although she harbored little affection for the Huang family, the thought of annihilation was not entirely unwelcome. Yet, the idea that had she not encountered Gu Yechen beforehand, she might have returned to the Huang family only to stumble upon his massacre, left her feeling trapped in an inescapable fate. Yes, Huang Shan provoked our Zixiao sect, and I dispatched him without hesitation. To avert future troubles, I intend to eliminate the Huang family altogether, thus freeing us from any subsequent concerns. Gu Yechen gently caressed her head, his tone casual and relaxed, clearly having embraced Huang Xueting as one of his own, without a hint of concealment. Zixiao sect. Huang Xueting was once again deeply astonished. She had certainly heard of the illustrious reputation of the Zixiao sect. In the realm of cultivation following the resurgence of spiritual energy, the Zixiao sect stood like an unyielding mountain, firmly seated atop the throne of the foremost sect. Its ranks were filled with formidable masters, their powers unfathomable, while the sect leader, Jiang Qingyan, was renowned as an unparalleled genius. Indeed, I am the Sword Elder of the Zixiao sect, and also one of its founders, Gu Yechen declared, playfully pinching her cheek, his smile brimming with confidence. His eyes radiated an aura of someone who was in complete control. The Sword Elder? Huang Xueting's shock intensified. In the realm of cultivation, to hold the title of Sword Elder indicated extraordinary swordsmanship and unmatched strength among peers. This implied that Gu Yechen and Appo's prowess far surpassed her imagination. Come, let us proceed to exact vengeance. Gu Yechen smiled as he wrapped his arm around her delicate waist, his touch gentle. In an instant, he transformed into a radiant streak of light, vanishing from their location. Within the blink of an eye, they found themselves suspended in midair. Huang Xueting felt her surroundings whirl at an astonishing pace. When she regained her senses, she realized they were soaring high above. Shock filled her heart. Such instantaneous movement could only be achieved by someone of at least the nascent soul realm. The immense disparity in strength between herself and Gu Yechen stirred a sense of despondency within her, making her feel as though she could never catch up to his pace. What troubles you? Gu Yechen keenly sensed Huang Xueting's shift in emotions. He chuckled, ruffling her hair, then gently pulled her into his embrace, allowing her to rest against his firm chest. I fear I may never reach your level. Huang Xueting looked up at Gu Yechen, her eyes filled with a blend of envy and helplessness. She understood the arduous path of cultivation, and the challenge of matching someone as powerful as Gu Yechen was formidable. Just be yourself. You are already remarkable. Gu Yechen gazed at her with warmth, offering gentle reassurance. To him, his journey of cultivation was akin to being nurtured along the way, while others relied solely on their innate talent and relentless effort. Huang Xueting's achievements in foundational cultivation were already commendable. Upon hearing Gu Yechen's comforting words, a wave of warmth surged within Huang Xueting. Although their acquaintance had been brief, the tenderness and care Gu Yechen had shown her were feelings she had never experienced before, aside from her parents. This warmth gradually soothed her previously troubled heart. With a thought, Gu Yechen conjured a radiant flying sword beneath them. He stepped onto the sword, and with Huang Xueting in tow, they once again vanished from their location. In a heartbeat, they arrived at the entrance of the Huang family estate. As Huang Xueting gazed at the familiar gates before her, a whirlwind of emotions stirred within. It was here, 2 years prior, that she had exerted every ounce of strength to escape this place that felt like a den of demons. Yet today, standing at this threshold once more, the turmoil in her heart had diminished significantly. Perhaps it was the growth she had undergone over the past 2 years. Or perhaps it was the presence of Gu Yechen, who cared for her wholeheartedly, even if his affection had initially stemmed from a transaction. Who goes there? At the entrance, 2 guards, startled by the sudden appearance of Gu Yechen and Huang Xueting, immediately became alert. Their eyes scrutinized the duo, their hands instinctively tightening around their weapons. Since the head of the Huang family had mysteriously passed away shortly after the family and Appo's re-emergence, a sense of unease had gripped the entire clan. These ordinary clan members, limited by their innate abilities, had been assigned to guard duty at the entrance. They were acutely aware of the family's precarious situation, making them particularly wary of any unfamiliar intruders. Does that woman seem somewhat familiar to you? One guard furrowed his brow, pointing at Huang Xueting and quietly inquiring of his companion. The other guard followed the direction of his finger, scrutinizing Huang Xueting closely before slowly responding. She does seem somewhat familiar, but I can't quite place her. He scratched his head, desperately rifling through his memories of Huang Xueting. Informed the current head of the family that I, Huang Xueting, have returned to seek justice. Her expression was as cold as ice, her gaze brimming with murderous intent as she spoke. Her voice carried an icy chill, sending shivers down the spines of the two guards. It was only upon hearing her name that they abruptly recalled the identity of the girl who had fled the family years ago, realizing it was indeed Huang Xueting. The disdain in the eyes of the guards became palpable. Well, look who it is, the runaway wretch from years ago. One guard sneered at Huang Xueting, then turned his gaze to Gu Yechen, momentarily taken aback by the strikingly handsome and charismatic man before him. Has she found herself a pretty boy? He scoffed, his eyes flicking back to Huang Xueting, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Do you dare to speak to me that way? Upon hearing their remarks about Gu Yechen, an unfamiliar rage ignited within Huang Xueting. In an instant, she moved like lightning, striking out at the two guards with a powerful palm. This strike contained all her strength, accompanied by a fierce gust of wind as it hurtled toward the guards. They paled in shock, hastily channeling their inner energy to meet her attack. However, as mere cultivators of the fifth stage of qi refinement, they were no match for Huang Xueting. With a resounding crash, the two guards were sent flying like kites with severed strings, crashing into the gate with tremendous force. The gate splintered under the impact, sending wooden shards flying in every direction. Chapter 444. The Strength of Huang Xueting. What is this? Several individuals, alerted by the violent commotion at the entrance, hastily rushed over. Upon witnessing the two guards lying unconscious on the ground, their gazes unanimously shifted towards Huang Xueting. This is not a place for you to act recklessly. State your names, and perhaps your demise will be more comfortable. Otherwise, you shall be fed to the dogs. A man stepped forward, his inner essence surging, unleashing a powerful aura characteristic of the initial stage of foundation establishment. His gaze was fierce, as if he wished to devour Huang Xueting whole. Initial stage of foundation establishment? I hope you do not disappoint me. Huang Xueting scoffed coldly, a hint of disdain flashing in her eyes. With that, she lightly tapped her foot and surged forward like a bolt of black lightning towards the man. The man's fury ignited upon seeing Huang Xueting daring to attack him. He chanted incantations, and suddenly, a long sword emanating a ghostly light appeared in his hand. With a swift motion, he unleashed a sword qi that surged forth like a dragon emerging from the sea, sweeping towards Huang Xueting. The air itself seemed to be sliced by the blade, producing a hissing sound. However, Huang Xueting showed no fear. She quickly formed hand seals, and a protective shield of spiritual energy materialized before her. The sword qi collided with the shield, erupting in a dazzling display of light. The formidable impact caused Huang Xueting to stagger slightly, but the shield remained steadfast in its defense. Quite impressive, Huang Xueting remarked with a slight smirk, revealing a cold smile. With a flick of her wrist, a blue longsword materialized in her hand, emanating a chill reminiscent of winter. Receive my strike, she declared, gently caressing the sword's body. Instantly, the blue longsword burst forth with brilliance, and Huang Xueting swung her right hand, unleashing a sword qi that rivaled the man and Appo's attack. The man and Appo's expression shifted dramatically. He swiftly circulated his inner essence, preparing to withstand the powerful torrent of spiritual energy. Yet, Huang Xueting's assault bore tremendous weight, overwhelming him and making it nearly impossible for him to breathe. Just as the man was on the verge of collapsing, a figure dashed in from the side. It was an elder from the Huang family, who paused momentarily upon seeing Huang Xueting. Then, witnessing her audacity to cause a ruckus at the Huang family's doorstep, he felt a surge of fury. With a change in hand gestures, a golden rune shot from his fingertips, melding seamlessly into the torrent of spiritual energy. The rune glowed brilliantly, effectively countering Huang Xueting's attack. You wretched girl, daring to return and cause trouble, injuring a disciple of the Huang family. Today shall be your end. The elder and Appo's eyes widened with rage as he bellowed. With a sweeping motion of his hands, countless golden runes erupted from his body, swirling in the air to form a colossal rune sword formation, descending upon Huang Xueting. Confronted by the overwhelming rune sword formation, Huang Xueting's heart tightened. She recognized that the elder's strength surpassed her own. Should she be struck by this formation, her demise would be certain. Just as she prepared to resist with all her might, Gu Yechen, who had been standing aside, finally intervened. With a calm demeanor, Gu Yechen raised his hand and gently waved it towards the rune sword formation. In an instant, an invisible force surged forth like a tempest, crashing into the formation. The rune sword formation disintegrated under the impact, the golden runes dissipating into specks of light in the air. Who are you to dare cause trouble at our Huang family? The elder and Appo's face turned pale with shock and anger as he fixed his gaze on Gu Yechen, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Who I am is inconsequential. What matters is that today, all of you from the Huang family shall perish, Gu Yechen replied flatly, each word imbued with a weight that sent chills down spines. As if a reaper were appraising its prey. Arrogant. You think you stand a chance? The elder in Apos' rage turned to mockery as he waved his hand, summoning the Huang family disciples to encircle Gu Yechen and Huang Xueting. Each disciple, tense and gripping their weapons, braced for an attack. Yet Gu Yechen remained unfazed. In a flash, he vanished from sight. The next moment, he appeared behind one of the Huang family disciples, gently patting him on the back. The disciple could not even utter a cry before he transformed into a mist of blood, dissipating into the air. The remaining Huang family disciples shrieked in terror, astonished by Gu Yechen's speed and terrifying power. Together, let's kill him, the elder roared, leading the charge towards Gu Yechen, encouraged by his presence. The other disciples summoned their courage and launched their attacks. A hint of disdain graced Gu Yechen and Apos' lips as he smiled. The elder, the strongest among them, was merely at the third stage of foundation establishment, hardly a worthy opponent. Huang Xueting stood by, awestruck and touched as she witnessed Gu Yechen effortlessly dispatching several opponents into blood mist. Had it not been for Gu Yechen, she would have likely met her end today. Who are you? Why do you seek to annihilate my Huang family? The elder stammered, his voice trembling, stripped of its former arrogance. I warned you. Huang Shan provoked the Zixiao sect, and he must die. The Huang family must also pay for his actions, Gu Yechen replied icily, his murderous intent intensifying as he gazed at the elder. The Zixiao sect? The elder's heart sank. He was well aware of its formidable reputation. He could hardly fathom that Huang Shan had attracted such a fearsome enemy. Now you fear? It is too late, Gu Yechen scoffed, raising his hand to unleash a pillar of spiritual energy from his palm, shooting towards the elder like a shooting star. The elder's face paled as he summoned every ounce of strength to resist this lethal strike. However, Gu Yechen's attack was beyond his capacity to withstand. The spiritual energy pillar pierced through his body, and he widened his eyes in disbelief before slowly collapsing to the ground. Achen, thank you. Huang Xueting approached Gu Yechen, tears glistening in her eyes as she expressed her gratitude. Why be courteous with me? This is our shared enemy, Gu Yechen replied with a smile, gently wiping away the tears from her cheeks. As the commotion drew more Huang family members to the entrance, they stood in shock at the unfolding scene, unable to comprehend how someone dared to challenge their family, and with such formidable strength. State your name. The Huang family does not slay nameless individuals. The grand elder of the Huang family arrived, his fury palpable as he surveyed the situation. Dead men do not have the right to know my name. If you survive, I may tell you, Gu Yechen replied, a chilling smile curling at the corners of his mouth. His gaze was as deep as an abyss, instilling an unshakable dread in the grand elder. The grand elder of the Huang family was at the pinnacle of foundation establishment. Although he was slightly weaker than Huang Shan, both possessed power that could not be underestimated, making them the strongest in the Huang family apart from the slumbering ancestor. At that moment, the Huang family members glared at Gu Yechen, their faces contorted with rage. His actions were an unabashed provocation against the Huang family. They could not possibly endure such an affront. Huang Yu stepped forward confidently, aligning himself with the grand elder. His gaze, sharp as a blade, swept across Gu Yechen and Huang Xueting, momentarily pausing at Huang Xueting with a flicker of surprise. Huang Xueting? It is you. Recognizing her, Huang Yu's eyes instantly filled with undisguised contempt. The grand elder narrowed his eyes upon hearing Huang Yu's words. The audacity of her escaping an arranged marriage, and now appearing brazenly before them, was nothing short of courting death. With that, he swung his hand, unleashing a powerful spiritual technique that surged towards Huang Xueting like a torrential flood. Huang Xueting's face turned pale upon witnessing the scene. She was certain that she was no match for him, and a single strike could severely injure her. However, at that moment, Gu Yechen pulled her behind him, standing protectively in front of her. His expression remained unchanged. He merely raised his hand with a gentle sweep, and an invisible force surged forth, effortlessly neutralizing the elder's attack. He slightly turned his head, a tender smile gracing his lips as he gazed at Huang Xueting. Do not be afraid, for I am here. Tears welled in Huang Xueting's eyes, taken aback that Gu Yechen, whom she had known for only half a day, would stand before her without hesitation. Who exactly are you? The elder of the Huang family was astounded. He could ascertain that Gu Yechen had undoubtedly surpassed the foundation establishment realm and entered a higher echelon. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to so effortlessly dissipate his full-force attack. Considering your imminent demise, I shall reveal my name. Gu Yechen, he stated calmly, a faint smile lingering on his face. His gaze swept over the Huang family members, and he spoke slowly, his voice echoing like a harbinger from the underworld. How do you wish to perish? Gu Yechen? Are you the one who assisted Huagua in the creation of mechas? The elder's face was filled with disbelief. He never anticipated that the person wreaking havoc in the Huang family was a figure of such repute in the secular world. Oh, it seems someone is aware of my name, Gu Yechen chuckled lightly, though a hint of frost accompanied his smile. His gaze hardened, locking onto Huang Yu with a murderous intent that was unmistakable. No matter who you are, since you have dared to intrude upon the Huang family, you must pay a heavy price. Regardless of your identity, you shall face dire consequences for trespassing into the Huang family. The elder thundered, commanding the younger members of the clan to charge at Gu Yechen without hesitation. In his view, this was not only a counterattack against Gu Yechen, but also a test of whether the younger generation could earn the family's recognition. Those who performed well in this battle would surely rise in status within the family. Such pointless chatter, Gu Yechen scoffed, disdain evident in his eyes. He surveyed the surroundings and casually waved his arm, unleashing a torrent of overwhelming spiritual energy that roared forth like a tidal wave. The force swept through, reducing the Huang family members who charged at him into a mist of blood, their cries echoing hauntingly in the air. Witnessing this, the elder's fury intensified, mingled with a profound shock. Gu Yechen and Apos' casual strike had annihilated the first wave of dozens in an instant, a display of power that surpassed his wildest imagination. You. The elder trembled with rage, momentarily at a loss for words. Do you not fear the wrath of the Huang family for such ruthless actions? The members of the Huang family glared at Gu Yechen, their eyes burning with fury as if they wished to consume him whole. And you, Huang Xueting, as a member of the Huang family, how can you collude with outsiders to harm your own kin? Do you not fear being hunted by the Huang family for eternity? The elder's expression was dark enough to drip with malice. Although most of those who had perished were inconsequential branches of the family, they were still Huang family members. How could he easily swallow this humiliation? At this point, you dare to threaten others? Is this the typical behavior of your so-called esteemed family? Gu Yechen's lips curled into a sardonic smile, his eyes narrowing as he regarded the assembly before him. Huang family, you are not as formidable as you imagine. Neither of you shall leave here alive today. Huang Yu stepped forward, his face contorted with rage as he glared at Gu Yechen and Huang Xueting. It was a disgrace for the illustrious Huang family to be openly attacked, suffering numerous casualties. If he were to let them go, how could he, the newly appointed family head, maintain his dignity thereafter? Enough of your ramblings. You are the new head of the Huang family? What relation do you have with Huangshan? Gu Yechen questioned coldly, his words imbued with an invisible pressure that bore down upon them like a mountain. In an instant, the members of the Huang family felt an insurmountable force wash over them. Their legs buckled, and they fell to their knees involuntarily. You. The elder, who had previously held on to his dignity, thought he could withstand the pressure, but now he truly comprehended Gu Yechen and Apos' terrifying strength. A mere glance had rendered them all unable to stand. Such power could only be rivaled by their enigmatic ancestor. With this in mind, the elder gritted his teeth, struggling against the oppressive force, and shouted with all his might, "We beseech the ancestor to intervene and save our Huang family." As his words fell, a blinding golden light shot up from the back mountain of the Huang family, as if it sought to tear the sky asunder. In an instant, a figure appeared before them. This person was clad in a gray robe, their face etched with deep wrinkles, and their frail form radiated an aura of mystique. Upon seeing the newcomer, Gu Yechen's lips curled into an intrigued smile, and he gradually withdrew his oppressive force. He was eager to see what abilities this old figure possessed. Chapter 445. The ancestor of the Huang family awaken me only if there is truly a matter of utmost urgency. The elder and Apos' gaze was as frigid as a sharp ice blade, casting a cold glance at the grand elder. As the ancestor of the Huang family, he had attained the Golden Core realm and had lived for over 400 years, residing in seclusion solely to safeguard the legacy of the Huang clan. After eagerly awaiting the revival of spiritual energy, he had hoped to seize the opportunity to break through to the nascent soul stage and extend his lifespan, propelling the Huang family to greater heights. Yet, he found himself roused by these inept descendants. Huang Yu stepped forward respectfully, bowing as he spoke. "Ancestor, this individual has intruded upon our Huang family, rampaging indiscriminately and employing ruthless methods without any mercy. We remain unaware of his true intentions." The elder scrutinized Huang Yu for a moment before rasping, "Who are you?" Huang Yu and Apos' expression stiffened slightly, yet he promptly replied with respect, "Ancestor, I am the newly appointed head of the Huang family." The elder's brow furrowed tightly, filled with confusion. He extended his consciousness like a tidal wave, but failed to perceive Huang Shan and Apos' presence, which left him perplexed. Where had that lad gone? Why was he absent? And why had he entrusted the position of family head to this young man? Upon hearing the elder and Apos' inquiry, the grand elder and Apos' anger surged. He regarded the elder with utmost reverence and said, "Ancestor, this is all the doing of the Zixiao sect. Our clansman Huang Xiu's life token shattered within their ranks. Upon learning this, Huang Shan led our kin to seek justice, only to have all their life tokens similarly destroyed." The elder and Apos' expression instantly grew grave. He turned his gaze back to Huang Yu, a glimmer of surprise flickering in his eyes. "A superlative spiritual root. Indeed, Our Huang family has finally produced a genius. It seems the revival of our clan is within reach. A faint smile gradually graced the elder's withered face as he shifted his attention to Gu Yechen, coldly stating, "Friend, I wonder how my Huang family has wronged you to warrant such wanton slaughter?" Before his words could fully dissipate, a terrifying aura of the ninth layer of golden core surged forth like a roaring tide, an immense pressure descending upon Gu Yechen like an invisible mountain. Many Huang family members present exhibited smug smiles upon witnessing this display. With the ancestor intervening, it appeared that this audacious young man was destined for demise. And judging by the momentum, the ancestor and Apos' strength seemed to have ascended yet again. A satisfied smile finally appeared on the Grand Elder and Apos' face. No matter how formidable Gu Yechen might be, he could not hope to surpass their ancestor. Gu Yechen remained composed, gently waving his sleeve, causing the overwhelming pressure to dissipate into thin air, leaving him and Huang Shueting untouched. The elder's expression shifted slightly, revealing a hint of astonishment. After the revival of spiritual energy, he had spent 6 months advancing from the 7th layer to the 9th layer of golden core. He had initially aimed to break through to the nascent soul stage, yet upon awakening, he had not anticipated that the seemingly youthful man could so effortlessly withstand his 9th layer golden core pressure, displaying not a trace of fear. "Indeed, young man, should you choose to join our Huang family and devote your life to us, I might consider overlooking the past and not pursue what has just transpired." The elder understood that Gu Yechen was an unparalleled talent, and if he could be recruited into the Huang family, their strength would undoubtedly soar, making domination of the cultivation world a possibility. As for Gu Yechen's previous actions within the Huang family, they paled in comparison to such a genius. The lives lost among the ordinary clansmen were utterly insignificant. Hearing this, Gu Yechen could not help but let out a cold laugh, his eyes brimming with disdain. "Join the Huang family. You believe you are worthy? Given your past actions, you deserve nothing less than eternal damnation. Moreover, you dare to provoke the Zixiao sect, truly believing they are but a soft persimmon to be squeezed at will?" The elder's countenance darkened, anger flashing in his eyes. "Humph, and what of the Zixiao sect? Before me, they are but inconsequential." He added, "If you remain ungrateful, do not blame me for being impolite." With that, he swiftly formed hand seals, chanting incantations. The skies darkened, and countless golden runes materialized, resembling a multitude of shimmering stars converging towards Gu Yechen. Yet Gu Yechen remained unfazed, his expression serene as he regarded the overwhelming golden runes, exuding confidence. Just as the runes were about to touch him, he raised his hand in a dismissive gesture, causing the impending attack to vanish in an instant. In the next moment, Gu Yechen's figure flickered, appearing directly behind the elder, his right fist poised to strike. Startled, the elder did not expect Gu Yechen to take the initiative. He hurriedly crossed his arms before him, summoning a thick shield of spiritual energy that enveloped him. The shield shimmered with mysterious runes, emanating formidable defensive power. Gu Yechen's fist collided with the spiritual shield, erupting in a dazzling display of light, the immense shockwave causing the surrounding air to churn violently. The shield quivered under the force of the blow, its runes dimming significantly. "Is this all you can muster?" Gu Yechen scoffed, following up with another punch that contained even greater force, as though aiming to shatter the very heavens and earth. With a sharp crack, the shield finally succumbed to the pressure and shattered. The elder's expression changed dramatically. He had never anticipated that his full-strength defensive measure would be so easily breached by Gu Yechen. Before he could react, Gu Yechen surged forward, unleashing a flurry of rapid strikes toward him. The elder could only hastily defend himself, retreating step by step under Gu Yechen's relentless assault. With each block, he felt an overwhelming force that left his arms numb, as if his very organs were being displaced. "Even my suppressed attacks cannot be withstood by you. Had I unleashed my full strength, you would have perished long ago." Gu Yechen clapped his hands together, a slight smile on his face, though the mockery was unmistakable. The Huang family watched in shock as their ancestor found himself in such a dire predicament under Gu Yechen's onslaught. They had previously thought the ancestor would easily overpower Gu Yechen, but now it seemed the situation had completely exceeded their expectations. Chapter 446, Sword Array Ancestor. "We are here to assist you." Huang Yu gritted his teeth, determination etched across his face, as he and the elite members of the Huang family charged boldly towards Gu Yechen. They were acutely aware that if their ancestor were to be defeated in this battle, the Huang family would inevitably collapse like a house of cards, plunging into an abyss of irretrievable despair. Gu Yechen sensed the commotion behind him, but did not even bother to turn around. He merely snorted dismissively, uttering, "A group of foolishly overconfident imbeciles." Before his words had completely faded, his figure vanished from sight, reappearing before Huang Yu and the others in an instant. With a swift and ethereal motion of his hands, he unleashed a barrage of spiritual blades that rained down upon them like a torrential downpour, each one accompanied by a shrill whistle. Huang Yu and his companions were taken aback, their expression shifting dramatically as they rapidly channeled their spiritual energy to brace against the onslaught. However, Gu Yechen and Apos' assault was akin to a cataclysmic tide, its overwhelming power far surpassing their expectations. Their defenses crumbled under the ferocity of his attack, rendering their efforts utterly futile. The spiritual blades pierced through their hastily constructed barriers with ease, and amidst anguished cries, several Huang family experts were struck down, their blood gushing forth like a fountain, their life force dissipating in an instant. Stop this at once. The elder in gray robes, witnessing the carnage, felt a surge of both shock and fury, akin to a powder keg igniting. He realized that if this continued, the Huang family would be annihilated. Drawing upon every ounce of his strength, he let out a thunderous roar, one of his divine abilities, causing Gu Yechen, who was suppressing his power to the 7th level of the Golden Core stage, to falter slightly. Though Gu Yechen had intentionally restrained his strength, he was far from an ordinary practitioner of the Golden Core realm. His unfathomable depth and prowess, even in a suppressed state, loomed like a towering mountain, instilling fear in all who beheld him. A frown creased Gu Yechen's brow as a glimmer of cold, killing intent flashed in his eyes. He then addressed the elder in gray, his voice icy. It appears that unless I demonstrate my true capabilities, you will not relent. With those words, his spiritual energy surged like a tempestuous sea, radiating a mightier and more formidable aura that expanded outward from him. At that moment, it seemed as though he had broken through some unseen barrier, his power ascending rapidly. His gaze was piercing. His presence reminiscent of a war god descended to the mortal realm, exuding an aura that chilled the very marrow of one and Apos' bones. Is this the nascent soul? The elder in gray felt an unprecedented wave of intense unease, as if an invisible hand were clutching his heart. He sensed that Gu Yechen was about to unleash his true power, and in the face of such overwhelming energy, his prospects appeared grim. Yet, as the Huang family and Apos' ancestor, he had borne the responsibility of protecting his clan for centuries. How could he easily withdraw? Gritting his teeth, he resolved to muster every last ounce of his strength to confront Gu Yechen in a life-and-death struggle, refusing to falter even before a true nascent soul master. For he felt he had little to lose. In that critical moment, a glimmer caught his eye as a sword materialized in his hand. This sword, entirely black, was as profound as the night, with a chilling light flowing along its blade, concealing an inexhaustible killing intent. Elders and disciples, heed my command. Form the celestial illusion sword array. The elder's voice boomed, resonating throughout the air. Instantly, all members of the Huang family settled into a meditative position, chanting incantations in unison. In an instant, the heavens illuminated, and a mysterious formation emerged, radiating a faint, ethereal glow that seemed to transport everyone into a dreamlike realm. Simultaneously, 9 swords materialized at the cardinal points of the array, gleaming with an otherworldly light, as if imbued with life, effectively ensnaring Gu Yechen within the confines of the sword formation. In midair, the elder of the Huang family, gripping the dark sword, floated solemnly, resembling an ancient statue. His body trembled slightly as he drew upon the immense power coalescing within the array. Youth, your arrogance knows no bounds. Remember to remain humble in your next life. The elder at the center of the array spoke gravely, raising his sword high and pointing it fiercely at Gu Yechen. In that instant, countless strands of sword energy shot forth like arrows released from a bow, bearing the intent to annihilate. Gu Yechen regarded the illusory yet perilous sword array before him with an unruffled demeanor, betraying no hint of unease. However, behind him, Huang Xueting suddenly appeared entranced. Her eyes vacant as if ensnared in an inescapable dream, her consciousness gradually fading into obscurity. Observing her, Gu Yechen felt a flicker of surprise, then murmured to himself. So it possesses the ability to draw one into a dream. It seems the true power of this array is to ensnare souls in slumber and strike with lethal precision, a truly enigmatic formation. With that, Gu Yechen waved his hand, enveloping Huang Xueting in a protective barrier of gentle, yet potent spiritual energy. Instantly, she awakened, her gaze bewildered as remnants of the dream lingered in her eyes. Ah Chun, what just happened? What was that? She softly inquired. You were entrapped in a dream, but all is well now, Gu Yechen reassured her with a tender smile, before turning his steely gaze back to the elder in gray. With a subtle motion, Gu Yechen summoned the thunder blade, a sword crackling with lightning, its blade pulsating with the essence of thunder from the heavens, producing a cacophony of crackling sounds that exuded an unsettling aura. In the sword array, the elder in gray felt his heart tighten as he beheld the thunder blade in Gu Yechen's grasp, sensing an ominous premonition. To his shock, the sword he wielded began to tremble uncontrollably, as if it had encountered a fearsome adversary. This sudden turn of events left him utterly astonished. This sword had been his companion for centuries, having endured countless battles without such a reaction. This was an unprecedented occurrence. The 9 swords surrounding the array also quivered in fear. Realizing the terror emanating from his weapon, The elder's gaze toward Gu Yechen was now tinged with trepidation. Yet, retreat was no longer an option. The fate of the Huang family rested solely upon him. Even as fear gripped his heart, he steeled himself. For to falter now would mean the complete annihilation of his clan. However, before he could launch a counterattack, Gu Yechen had already made his move. With a graceful sweep of the Thunderblade, a blade of energy surged forth like a thunderous dragon, intercepting the oncoming sword energy from the Celestial Illusion Sword Array. Chapter 447. The Huang family's annihilation. As the two forces collided, a brilliant light erupted, accompanied by a deafening roar. After shattering each other's sword energy, the power of this sword strike remained undiminished, surging forward with even greater ferocity towards the elderly figure in the gray robe. In an instant, the elder found himself unable to evade, and a pained scream escaped his lips as his left hand was severed by the relentless sword energy. The severed limb fell from a great height, blood tracing a mournful arc through the air. The members of the Huang family, witnessing their ancestor and Apos' dire predicament, were filled with rage and sorrow, their eyes fixed on Gu Yechen, as if they wished to engrave his visage in their hearts for future retribution. The gray-robed elder, gazing at his lost arm, pressed a hand to his wound to staunch the bleeding, a wave of desolation washing over him. He sighed deeply, realizing he lacked the strength to halt this calamity. "Friend, if it is possible, please spare a few of our bloodline," the elder implored. His face etched with helplessness and weariness as he looked at Gu Yechen, his tone tinged with a hint of desperation. The Huang family members, upon hearing these words, were filled with grief and indignation. The elder and Apos' plea was a clear acknowledgement that they were no match for the young man before them, and it seemed that their family was on the brink of complete annihilation. "What do you expect? For me to leave a few bloodlines, only for them to grow strong enough to turn against me?" Gu Yechen frowned slightly, a look of surprise flickering in his eyes at the elder's navet. The elder was rendered speechless by Gu Yechen and Apos' words, for they were undeniably true. In the ruthless realm of cultivation, no one would allow their enemy and Apos' bloodline to survive under such circumstances, leaving themselves open to future vengeance. Even he, in his position, would not have made such a choice. You understand, do you not? Gu Yechen shook his head gently, finding the elder and Apos' thoughts far too innocent. The elder sighed heavily once more, slowly closing his eyes, falling into silence. He had never imagined that the Huang family he had devoted his life to protecting would meet its end due to the recklessness of his descendants who had provoked the wrong adversary. "In your final moments, might I know your origins?" The elder's voice emerged, heavy with exhaustion and despair, his gaze fixed on Gu Yechen with a glimmer of lingering hope. He did not wish to perish in ignorance, unaware of the identity of the one who had brought ruin upon the Huang family. "My name is Gu Yechen, the sword elder of the Zixiao sect. Huang Shan and the others fell by my hand. You should consider yourselves fortunate to have met your end at my hands." Gu Yechen replied calmly, a faint smile gracing his lips. At this juncture, he felt no need to conceal his identity any longer. "Ah, I see. No wonder you have come to the Huang family to enact such deeds. It appears our family's fate is sealed." The elder shook his head with a bitter smile, casting his gaze upon the members of the Huang family below, filled with guilt and resignation. He understood that he was powerless to change the course of events. He could not even save himself, let alone the entirety of the Huang family. Gu Yechen remained emotionally unaffected by the unfolding tragedy, as he had long concluded that the Huang family's downfall was inevitable due to Huang Shan's provocations. Thus, there was little left to say. "Proceed, grant me a swift end," the elder murmured, closing his eyes once more, relinquishing all attachments as he awaited the arrival of death. He knew he had done all he could. Nothing was left to salvage. Gu Yechen regarded the once mighty patriarch of the Huang family, now awaiting death in solitude, without an ounce of pity. He raised the thunder sword, its blade shimmering with lightning, as if heralding the impending conclusion. At that moment, the heavens darkened, the once clear sky now shrouded in ominous clouds, with fierce lightning crashing through the turbulent air, accompanied by a deafening roar. This strange phenomenon seemed to herald the Huang family's demise. Drawing a deep breath, Gu Yechen swung the thunder sword with force, unleashing a torrent of sword energy imbued with boundless thunderous power towards the gray-robed elder. The air split apart with a piercing sound as the sword energy surged forth. The elder, feeling the overwhelming sword energy approaching, found an eerie calm within. He understood that everything was at an end. In his final moments, memories of the Huang family's former glory flashed through his mind, alongside the countless sacrifices he had made over the centuries for his kin. Yet, all of it would turn to ash in this instant. The sword energy struck the elder with devastating force, his body disintegrating into nothingness under the relentless power of the thunder, dissolving amidst the tempest. Simultaneously, the celestial sword array collapsed, having lost its core support, the 9 treasured swords falling to the ground with a dull thud. The remaining members of the Huang family watched in horror as their ancestor vanished, the last glimmer of hope extinguished. Some wept in despair, while others roared in fury. Yet none could alter the fate that awaited their family. Gu Yechen surveyed the remaining Huang family members with a frigid gaze, devoid of compassion. He understood that the world of cultivation was merciless, governed by the law of the jungle. The Huang family's choice to provoke the Zixiao sect had led them to bear the consequences. You of the Huang family are deeply culpable. Today marks your demise. Gu Yechen's voice resonated throughout the area. With that, he swung the thunder sword once more, unleashing waves of sword energy like scythes of death upon the Huang family members. They stood no chance against such overwhelming force. Their bodies fell one by one, blood staining the earth beneath them. Before long, the courtyard of the Huang family lay strewn with lifeless bodies, the once magnificent clan reduced to a veritable hellscape. Huang Xueting stood beside Gu Yechen, watching the gruesome scene unfold. Her heart a tumult of emotions. Though she held little affection for the Huang family, witnessing so many lives extinguished stirred a ripple of turmoil within her. Ah Chun, is it all truly over? Huang Xueting inquired softly, her voice laced with fatigue. It is finished, Gu Yechen replied, sheathing the thunder sword and gently grasping her hand for comfort. From now on, you need not worry about the Huang family and Appo's threat. Huang Xueting nodded slightly, her gaze fixed on Gu Yechen, filled with gratitude. She understood that without him, she would have remained forever shackled by the shadows of the Huang family. With the last of the Huang family members fallen, the once reclusive clan was utterly obliterated. Gu Yechen escorted Huang Xueting back to the Zixiao sect, where he entered seclusion, preparing to confront the challenges of transcending to a higher realm. Chapter 448. Influence. Half a year later, the aura of spiritual energy surged back with unprecedented force, engulfing the world in chaos akin to a tempest. Every nation exerted its utmost efforts to cope with the ramifications of this revival. Even the formidable Eagle Sauce Nation, often hailed as the world's superpower, was not spared from the tempest's grasp. Above the skies of Eagle Sauce Nation loomed an immense, otherworldly eye, radiating an eerie aura as if it were a celestial observer, coldly surveying the land from its lofty perch. In an instant, an intangible dread enveloped the entire nation, plunging it into an unprecedented catastrophe. Concurrently, numerous unknown vast territories emerged like phantoms across the globe, products of the complete resurgence of spiritual energy. Adventurous expedition teams ventured forth to explore these realms, yet all vanished without a trace, including even the most elite of explorers. These territories were fraught with peril, teeming with various terrifying creatures and mysterious forces, where a moment's carelessness could lead to irrevocable doom. In the skies above Huagua, anomalies also manifested. A luminous veil appeared, emanating strange radiance, from which an indescribable entity descended like a meteor, ultimately crashing in the northeastern region. The impact produced a deafening roar that reverberated throughout the heavens, and the ensuing explosion was akin to a volcanic eruption, unleashing energy waves that rapidly spread, engulfing the entire Dongsan province. Fortunately, a few golden core cultivators from the Zixiao sect had been stationed there in advance, exerting their utmost abilities to mitigate the crisis. Faced with such a grave situation, the high-ranking officials of Huagua convened an emergency meeting. The atmosphere in the conference room was palpably tense, each individual burdened with a heavy heart. What had fallen in the northeast? What could incite such a colossal explosion, rivaling the force of a nuclear bomb? Long, the leader, regarded the assembly with a stern gaze, his voice low yet tinged with concern. Despite Gu Yechen's prior warnings regarding potential anomalies in the northeastern region and their relative preparations, none had anticipated the severity of the actual situation. In this calamity, the death toll in the northeastern region soared to several hundred thousand, a figure only modestly controlled due to the intervention of a few golden core cultivators from the Zixiao sect. Had they not been present, the ramifications would have been unimaginable, potentially plunging the entire northeast into endless darkness and devastation. Compared to other nations, Huagua's circumstances were relatively optimistic. Some countries had already been ruthlessly overrun by unknown creatures, losing over half of their territories, with these entities voraciously consuming the remaining lands, leaving devastation in their wake. The northeastern region was suddenly besieged by a staggering influx of unknown creatures. If immediate measures were not taken to contain this situation, the entire northeast could soon face an unparalleled crisis. Ma Xin, with a grave expression, presented the dire situation in the northeast based on satellite monitoring and field investigations. His data revealed the current state of the region. Not only had a staggering 100,000 mountains arisen, but countless magical beasts and peculiar creatures now roamed within them. Fortunately, these beings had yet to exhibit any aggressive tendencies towards humanity. However, the consequences of the recent explosion were undeniably immense and far-reaching. What is the current situation in Eagle Sauce Nation? Long inquired, his brow slightly furrowed as he turned his attention to the assembly. The situation there is far more dire than ours. Preliminary estimates indicate their casualties have surpassed 5 million, and this figure continues to climb at an alarming rate. Their predicament is starkly different from ours. A minister responsible for data analysis stood, his expression grave as he explained. The assembly fell silent, their faces reflecting disbelief and astonishment as they turned their gazes towards the minister. In their understanding, even with the abrupt resurgence of spiritual energy, Eagle Sauce Nation, a military and technological powerhouse, should not suffer such catastrophic losses. What has emerged there is an exceedingly terrifying creature, akin to a swarm of locusts, leaving no trace in its wake. These entities are vast in number and fearlessly relentless, seemingly driven by a frenzied instinct. The minister continued, meeting the assembly's puzzled expressions. He produced satellite imagery to illustrate his point. As they focused on the images, they beheld a fifth of Eagle Sauce Nation's territory transformed into barren land. Once lush vegetation eradicated, devoured entirely by these fearsome creatures. Alarmingly, human flesh seemed to possess an irresistible allure for them. Once they consumed human blood, these beings rapidly evolved, becoming even more formidable. This encapsulates the true state of Eagle Sauce Nation. They have urgently mobilized counteroffensive forces to halt the onslaught of these creatures. Although they have seen some success, it has come at an extremely high cost. Even deploying rocket artillery, the minister's tone grew heavier, and the atmosphere in the conference room became increasingly oppressive. As the assembly absorbed the report, their expressions grew graver. With Huagua's vast population and extensive territory, should such a scenario unfold within its borders, the consequences would be catastrophic, potentially leading the entire nation into a calamitous abyss. Immediately notify all border troops to enter a state of heightened combat readiness. We must spare no effort to ensure that not a single mutated creature breaches our borders. Long recognized the gravity of the situation. These creatures reproduced at an alarming rate, and should they penetrate the defenses, it would be akin to unleashing Pandora's box, bringing untold suffering to the nation and its people. Now, let us deliberate on how to address the issues posed by the magical beasts and creatures within the 100,000 mountains of the Northeast. Long directed his gaze once more towards the assembly, his expression resolute. Given the current circumstances, their strategy must be one of cautious defense, avoiding rash offensives. For a single misstep could provoke a furious retaliation from these creatures, leading to even graver repercussions. Chapter 449. The 10,000 Great Mountains. After a year of relentless effort, our mech battalion has successfully assembled 1,000 units. I propose that we dispatch an elite squad to pilot these mechs into the 10,000 Great Mountains for exploration. Even if we encounter danger, the advanced capabilities and formidable defenses of the mechs should allow for a swift retreat. A military representative rose to express his thoughts, acknowledging that this issue must eventually be addressed. We cannot remain in a stalemate indefinitely. I also believe we could invite the members of the Zishu sect to assist in the exploration of the 10,000 Great Mountains. There are 3 golden core cultivators stationed in the northeast, and their strength should suffice for the task at hand. However, another voice raised a differing opinion. That is inadvisable. Although the Zishu sect nominally belongs to our nation and is currently aiding in our defense, they have become independent. We must cultivate our own self-reliance and not depend on others for every endeavor. Ma Xian spoke with a serious demeanor and resolute tone. His relationship with Gu Yechen was undoubtedly unique, yet he held that since the Zishu sect had chosen to develop independently, we should face various challenges relying on our own strength. Otherwise, what is the purpose of our nation's decision-makers and numerous departments? Indeed, Premier Ma is correct. Our nation possesses many cultivators who can be organized into exploration teams. While the 10,000 Great Mountains may be fraught with peril, they are also likely to conceal rich resources and opportunities, presenting a rare chance for our practitioners to hone their skills. Longzhu nodded slightly, agreeing with Ma Xian's perspective, and shared his own thoughts. Although our nation is currently under the protection of the Zishu sect, we must foster our own strength to establish a foothold in this ever-changing world. Absolutely. Many gifted cultivators from our nation have entered the Zishu sect for training, and there are also numerous independent practitioners within our borders. We can unite them to collectively participate in this exploration endeavor. Others expressed their agreement as well. Then let us make this decision. Longzhu contemplated briefly before decisively concluding. He then turned to Ma Xian and earnestly stated, "Old Ma, you shall be responsible for coordinating this matter. Given the uncertain circumstances within the 10,000 Great Mountains, our foremost principle must be to ensure the safety of personnel." Understood. Ma Xian replied solemnly, fully aware of the weight of his responsibilities. The international situation is exceedingly grave. We cannot afford to be complacent domestically either. Notify local forces to closely monitor the surrounding regions, enhance patrols and defenses, and prevent any sudden attacks from magical beasts. Simultaneously, we must raise public awareness through various channels, ensuring that citizens are educated on precautionary measures. We must not allow negligence to cost lives. Longzhu's expression turned serious as he rhythmically tapped his fingers on the table, his tone grave. For him, our nation is a homeland forged by the blood and lives of countless ancestors, embodying the hopes and future of our people. And it must not be compromised. Our grassroots troops, having undergone training and acclimatization, are now well prepared to handle various situations arising from the resurgence of spiritual energy. Moreover, many among them have trained in the Zixio sect, significantly enhancing their strength. They should be capable of addressing ordinary crises. Ma Xin reported the detailed status of the grassroots forces to Long Zhu with a calm demeanor. What news of Yechen? Is there still no word of his emergence? Long Zhu furrowed his brow, a hint of concern crossing his features. Although our nation has temporarily withstood the calamities wrought by the resurgence of spiritual energy through its own strength and collective efforts, the true source of crisis lies in the Eagle Sauce Nation, and the invasion from other realms has not yet fully manifested. We are merely experiencing the effects of spiritual energy resurgence. As long as we can secure the northeastern region, our nation should not encounter significant issues. However, in the face of this global crisis, he earnestly hoped Gu Yechen would emerge soon, leveraging his formidable strength to devise solutions for our nation and the world at large. He remains in seclusion. We have yet to receive any news of his emergence, Ma Xian replied, shaking his head in resignation. He too anticipated Gu Yechen and Apos' timely return to lead them through this unprecedented crisis. Thankfully, the current situation in our nation is relatively stable. As long as we do not confront high-level magical beasts, our existing forces should suffice. While discussions on countermeasures continued, a staff member suddenly rushed into the conference room, clutching an urgent document, and spoke in a hurried tone. Long Zhu. We have just received reports indicating that the magical beasts in the 10,000 Great Mountains appear to be exhibiting new movements. They are gradually migrating towards surrounding areas, and their pace is accelerating. Upon hearing this, the faces of all present turned grave. Long Zhu swiftly rose, his gaze resolute as he declared, "It appears the situation is even more urgent than we anticipated. Old Ma, expedite the formation of the exploration team. We must swiftly ascertain the conditions within the 10,000 Great Mountains. At the same time, notify the forces in the northeastern vicinity to bolster their defenses and prepare for a potential large-scale assault by the magical beasts." Ma Xian nodded promptly, responding, "Yes, I will make the necessary arrangements." With that, he hurriedly exited the conference room. Long Zhu looked at the others, his expression stern. This crisis presents both a challenge and an opportunity for our nation. We must unite and confront it together. We cannot allow the peace and prosperity earned through the sacrifices of our ancestors to be lost. In unison, everyone rose and declared, "We will resolutely obey the nation's command and safeguard our homeland." In an instant, elite forces from our nation surged to the front lines, all heading to the northeastern region to fortify against the impending crisis within the 10,000 Great Mountains. Many cultivators from our nation, having received the official notice, proceeded without hesitation, for our homeland was their sanctuary, and they would not permit any external forces to wreak havoc upon it. At this moment, on the front lines of the northeastern region, a woman accompanied by several female cultivators wielding long swords surveyed the unfolding situation. She was Su Qingqing, and behind her stood members of the Su family, all of whom had accompanied her to the Zixio sect. Initially brought to the Zixio sect by Gu Yechen, she had since dedicated herself to rigorous training in seclusion. After a year within the Zixio sect, she had reached the pinnacle of the Golden Core stage, mere steps away from breaking through to the nascent Soul Realm. Upon emerging from the Zixio sect, she had sensed the potential for upheaval in the northeastern region and had come directly here, feeling that the opportunity for her breakthrough might lie in this very place. "Miss, the situation here seems somewhat grim," one of her female cultivators spoke up. Chapter 450. Exploration. Su Qingqing nodded slightly, her gaze serious as she examined the situation before her, a frown forming on her brow. She could distinctly sense the subtle atmosphere surrounding her. The magical beasts, though appearing restless, had yet to launch an actual attack, merely moving back and forth as if in search of a suitable dwelling. "How did you get here?" At that moment, a light figure appeared beside Su Qingqing. The person, upon seeing her, seemed momentarily taken aback, a flicker of surprise flashing in her eyes. "Qingwei, what brings you here?" Su Qingqing was equally astonished to discover that her close friend, Li Qingwei, was present in this perilous location. "I sensed a strong fluctuation of spiritual energy in this area, so I hurried over." "And you? What are you doing here?" Li Qingwei tilted her head slightly, gently lifting Su Qingqing's chin, her eyes filled with curiosity. "I also felt that something was amiss, and since Yi Chun had specifically mentioned that significant changes might occur in the northeastern region, I rushed over immediately." Su Qingqing explained calmly. Li Qingwei nodded in deep understanding. As citizens of Huagua, they both felt a responsibility for the nation's safety, and with their strength, they could not turn a blind eye to such crises. "Xiaoye, have you seen the news released by the government?" Su Qingqing turned her head, her expression grave as she regarded Li Qingwei. "I have, but I never anticipated that Yingjiangguo would descend into such a tragic state," Li Qingwei replied, recalling the dire situation of Yingjiangguo depicted in the news, still feeling a lingering dread. She had indeed followed the related reports and was taken aback to see the plight of Yingjiangguo. After all, it was a nation renowned as a global superpower. Yet in just one day, millions had perished, and a fifth of its territory had been ravaged beyond recognition. Su Qingqing nodded gravely, continuing, "Now? We can only adopt a strategy of stringent defense. The situation in Yingjiangguo is vastly different from ours, presently. We know nothing of the creatures that inhabit the 10,000 Great Mountains. If they are similar to those that appeared in Yingjiangguo, we could be in serious trouble. It shouldn't be that severe. The frenzied creatures that emerged in Yingjiangguo would not remain so docile. If they were here, they would have likely launched a frenzied assault by now." Li Qingwei gently shook her head, expressing her viewpoint. Su Qingqing pondered for a moment, finding Li Qingyue's words quite reasonable. After all, news reports indicated that once those terrifying creatures appeared, they would launch attacks without hesitation. Currently, however, the magical beasts within the 10,000 Great Mountains showed no inclination to attack, instead searching for suitable habitats. Should we venture inside to scout the area? Li Qingyue's eyes were fixed intently on the 10,000 Great Mountains, her expression serious. Huaguo would inevitably need to delve deeper to understand the situation. And as both were peak Golden Core practitioners, initial exploration should not pose a significant risk. Su Qingqiang had already contemplated entering to investigate and was further emboldened by Li Qingyue's presence. With their combined strength, they had no reason to fear unless they encountered beasts of the nascent soul stage. Even against formidable beasts in the early nascent soul stage, their peak Golden Core prowess would provide them with the capability to engage. Ensure that no magical beast escapes from here. If anyone inquires, tell them we have entered the mountains to assess the situation. Su Qingqing turned to the few women behind them, her expression stern as she instructed. Yes, miss. The women replied in unison, their voices crisp yet respectful. Qingwei, let us set off. Su Qingqing turned her gaze back to Li Qingwei, nodding slightly in affirmation. All right, Li Qingwei responded, also nodding in agreement. Subsequently, the two of them simultaneously channeled their spiritual energy and summoned their flying swords. In an instant, two streaks of light shot through the sky, vanishing from sight as they raced towards the depths of the 10,000 Great Mountains. Meanwhile, within the Zixiao Hall of the Zixiao sect, Jiang Qingyan, clad in simple attire, sat elegantly in the position of sect leader, her eyes calmly surveying the assembly below. These individuals represented the core strength of the Zixiao sect, each bearing the heavy responsibility of safeguarding the sect and the nation. Having successfully ascended to the nascent soul stage, Jiang Qingyan had reached the third realm, her strength increasingly unfathomable. She exuded an aura of steadiness and power, instilling a sense of reverence in those around her. What is the current situation across various regions? Jiang Qingyan inquired softly, her tone unwavering. Since assuming the role of sect leader, she had weathered countless storms within a year, cultivating a tranquil heart that remained unfazed even in the face of adversity. Apart from Gu Yechen and her close friends, few matters could elicit signs of tension from her. The spiritual energy has fully revived, and the situation within Huagua has grown increasingly intricate. However, the overall circumstances remain within a controllable range, without significant issues arising. The northeast region poses a greater challenge. A blinding light fell from the sky, triggering an explosion of catastrophic magnitude, comparable to a nuclear bomb, causing severe devastation locally. The Grand Elder of the Zixiao sect spoke with a grave expression, his voice laced with concern. He had received word of this event promptly and dispatched 3 nearby Golden Core practitioners for swift assistance, yet they had ultimately arrived too late. Elder Zhao, what is the current state of the 10,000 Great Mountains? Jiang Qingyan's brow furrowed slightly, her demeanor serious. If this were a premeditated invasion, the Zixiao sect must respond swiftly to ensure the peace of Huagua. Elder Zhao surveyed the gathered individuals before slowly speaking, his voice steady yet cold. Currently, from the information received from various sources, a considerable number of magical beasts have emerged within the 10,000 Great Mountains, alongside numerous spiritual beasts. However, no one has yet ventured deep into the area for a detailed exploration. Satellite imagery analysis indicates that the mountains are fraught with danger, particularly in the core region, which appears to be guarded by exceptionally powerful magical beasts. Therefore, we must exercise utmost caution and avoid any rash actions in our response. As the Grand Elder of the Zixiao sect, Zhao Guan naturally commanded great respect. Chapter 451, The Beast Tied Deep Within the Vast Expanse of the 10,000 Great Mountains. Su Qingqing and Li Qingwei stealthily emerged at the periphery. Su Qingqiang and Appo's expression was grave as she vigilantly surveyed her surroundings, her grip on the shattered snow sword tightened, poised as if danger could strike at any moment. Is this truly the interior of the 10,000 Great Mountains? Su Qingqing murmured to herself, her eyes filled with apprehension. Her gaze, sharp and discerning, scrutinized every blade of grass and tree, leaving no detail overlooked. It appeared not much different from the outside. Yet the abundance of spiritual herbs here was noteworthy. If they could muster a team to gather medicinal materials, it would indeed be a splendid opportunity. Li Qingwei, brimming with excitement, echoed her thoughts while marveling at the surroundings. With each few steps, she encountered various rare herbs, igniting her enthusiasm. In her view, such a rich trove of spiritual resources was undoubtedly a tremendous boon for the Zixiao sect's development. Indeed, I also sense that the beasts on the periphery are of relatively low levels. This could serve as a training ground for our new disciples, Su Qingqing pondered. She recognized the latent value this region held for the growth of the Zixiao sect's disciples. However, an unsettling premonition lingered in her heart, hinting at something extraordinary hidden deep within the 10,000 Great Mountains. Let us proceed deeper, Su Qingqing declared, her long, graceful legs striding forward into the heart of the mountains. Li Qingyuan nodded resolutely, accompanying her. A solemn expression adorned her face as she yearned to witness the dreadful crisis that Gu Yechen had warned could spell doom for Huagua. As they ventured further from the periphery into the mountain's embrace, the scenery unfolded in breathtaking beauty. Sunlight streamed through the dense foliage, casting dappled shadows upon the ground. The air was fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers, and birds chirped joyfully among the branches, creating an idyllic paradise untouched by strife. Yet, who could have anticipated that beneath this enchanting facade lay lurking peril? This place is indeed remarkable, though it pales in comparison to our Zixiao sect. Li Qingyue couldn't and oppose, help but exclaim. As a premier cultivation sect, Zixiao sect boasted unparalleled spiritual veins and a serene environment, making it difficult for the 10,000 Great Mountains to compete. Su Qingqing did not respond, but merely nodded in agreement. Her vigilance remained steadfast, eyes alert to any signs of movement. After all, this was their inaugural foray into the 10,000 Great Mountains, and any misstep could lead to catastrophic consequences. Leaving no room for complacency, while they remained on high alert, a thunderous sound suddenly erupted ahead, akin to a roaring thunderclap. In an instant, both women felt the gravity of the situation, every nerve in their bodies taut with tension. This commotion is considerable. It seems something is amiss, Li Qingyue remarked, her tone calm, yet her eyes alight with excitement, brimming with combat fervor. Naturally combative, the prospect of an unknown challenge ignited a fiery passion within her. Su Qingqing's right hand tightened around the shattered snow sword, sensing its unquenchable thirst for battle. Since its departure from the sword pavilion, it had seldom experienced exhilarating combat. At this moment, it seemed to catch the scent of prey, trembling with anticipation, its blade radiating a brilliant blue light, eager to convey its longing for the fray. You yearn for battle as well, don't you? Su Qingqing smiled softly, addressing the shattered snow sword. Buzz. The shattered snow sword vibrated in response to its mistress's words, its desire for combat intensifying, the blue radiance flaring brilliantly, illuminating a small area around them. The Zixiao sect primarily cultivated swordsmanship, yet the sect always respected the choices of its disciples, refraining from interfering in their paths of cultivation. As long as the techniques were found in the library, disciples were free to practice them, although this depended on their innate talents, for the techniques within the library were not easily acquired. They are coming, Li Qingyue called out, swiftly summoning a sword with a turquoise blade into her grasp. The sword shimmered with flowing light, emanating a formidable aura that matched Su Qingqing's own. Before them, dust erupted as if an army of thousands were charging forth. The thunderous sounds resonated through the forest, growing ever closer, while the startled birds took flight, chattering incessantly as if protesting against the invaders. In an instant, a tide of beasts surged forth, their eyes fierce and claws bared, rushing towards Su Qingqing and Li Qingyue with alarming speed. Their numbers were staggering, a seemingly endless wave. Even though both women were formidable cultivators at the Golden Core stage, the sight of this overwhelming beast tide stirred a hint of anxiety within them. Despite their strength, their practical combat experience was limited. Yet, even in the face of such dire circumstances, the fighting spirit in their beautiful eyes showed no sign of waning. Rather, it grew ever more resolute. Let the battle commence, Su Qingqing commanded, as the shattered snow sword blazed with light. A powerful ice attribute sword energy, imbued with immense spiritual force, shot forth like a bolt of lightning, cleaving through the first dozen beasts with ease. Blood spattered, and agonized cries echoed, but the sheer number of beasts was relentless. Having dispatched a few, a fresh wave surged forward, undeterred. It appears today will test our mettle, Li Qingyue mused, her brow furrowing as the gravity of the situation settled upon her. They were but two against an overwhelming number of beasts, some of which were fifth-tier monsters capable of rivaling the Golden Core stage, creating an extremely unfavorable scenario for them. Yet, neither displayed any inclination to retreat. After exchanging determined glances, they simultaneously harnessed their spiritual energy and charged into the surging tide of beasts like two shooting stars. In the blink of an eye, their figures vanished amidst the throng, leaving behind only the resounding clashes of their spirit swords against the beasts and the roars of the monsters that reverberated throughout the area. Half an hour passed, and after a fierce battle, the tide of beasts was finally vanquished. While Li Qingwei had successfully slain two 7th-tier golden core beasts, she had paid a steep price, having exhausted much of her spiritual energy in the process. Chapter 452. The transformed beast Li Qingwei bore deep wounds on her arm and back, with the injury on her arm so severe that bone was visible, blood flowing profusely. Yet, she gritted her teeth in silence, her face betraying a stubborn resolve. The sword in her hand emanated a fierce aura of slaughter, seemingly recounting the thrill of their recent bloody struggle. Su Qingsheng was equally disheveled. Her once snow-white attire was now drenched in crimson, and she appeared utterly exhausted. The relentless intensity of their battles had drained their spiritual energy. If another confrontation of such magnitude were to occur, their demise would be imminent. Thank you, Su Qingsheng gasped, stealing a glance at her shattered snow sword. She then formed a hand seal and invoked the cleansing technique. Instantly, her blood-soaked garments regained their pristine whiteness, and the shattered snow sword sparkled anew with a clean radiance. The sword seemed to resonate with her words, vibrating joyfully and emitting a clear, melodious hum. It originated from the Sword Pavilion, a reward from the system, and was placed in the Zixiao sect by Gu Yechen. It held a particular fondness for Su Qingsheng, the master's woman. Just as the two prepared to take elixirs to recuperate and regain their energy, a thunderous roar echoed from afar. The sound, in stark contrast to the cries of the lower-tier beasts they had just faced, carried an overwhelming sense of intimidation, as if it could pierce the very soul and instill dread. The expressions of Su Qingsheng and Li Qingwei shifted to grave concern from the roar. They immediately surmised that the approaching beast was of no ordinary caliber. With their spiritual energy severely depleted and their bodies fatigued, resisting the imminent threat would prove exceedingly challenging. Humans, what brings you here? A figure materialized suddenly before them. The beast had attained sentience, capable of human speech, and had successfully transformed. This indicated that its strength had reached at least the 6th tier. Otherwise, such a transformation would be impossible. Su Qingsheng eyed the transformed beast with vigilance. The creature appeared strikingly handsome, nearly indistinguishable from a human. Were it not for the faint aura of a beast emanating from him, one might struggle to associate him with his true nature. Noticing their silence, the beast smirked, a hint of amusement dancing on his lips. Before leering at them and slowly pronouncing, "You two are exceptionally beautiful. Your figures are exquisite. If possible, why not stay and serve as my concubines?" He took a step forward, his gaze glimmering with greed. Fury surged within Su Qingsheng, and she retorted, "We are from the Zixiao sect, so you should abandon such foolish fantasies." With that, she suppressed her fatigue, swallowed an elixir, and grasped the shattered snow sword tightly, a renewed spirit of defiance surging within her. Li Qingwei rose as well. Though her wounds throbbed painfully, she remained undaunted, sneering, "You dare? Know your own limitations." Her sword radiated a chilling aura as she stood resolutely beside Su Qingsheng, unyielding against the transformed beast. The beast, rather than being incensed, erupted into laughter. "Ha ha, the Zixiao sect? Never heard of it, yet you are nothing in my eyes. If you two beauties comply today, perhaps I will spare your lives, otherwise." A glint of malice flickered in his eyes, and his aura surged, warping the air around them. Early-stage nascent soul? The two women paled at the sight of the beast and Appos, as displayed might. Had they been at their prime, they might have considered confronting him, but now, drained of energy, facing him seemed nearly impossible. However, Su Qingsheng understood the necessity of not showing weakness, as it would only embolden him further. She inhaled deeply, channeling the remnants of her spiritual energy. Simultaneously, she transmitted a message to Li Qingwei, "Xiaoya, we must remain calm. Though this beast is formidable, we cannot surrender easily. Let us buy time, recover our energy, and seek his vulnerabilities." Li Qingwei nodded slightly, indicating her comprehension. She consumed 2 elixirs, one for energy restoration and the other for healing, enduring the pain from her wounds as she secretly mended her damaged meridians, all while keeping a watchful eye on the beast's every move. The transformed beast seemed to sense their intentions, scoffing, "Do you think you can buy time this way? Utterly naive. You two will find it impossible to escape today. Yield and become my wives." With that, he swiftly formed hand seals, murmuring incantations. Instantly, dark currents surged through the surrounding space, coalescing into a myriad of black claws that lunged towards Su Qingsheng and Li Qingwei. The two women, refusing to underestimate the threat, unleashed their sword techniques to counter the assault. However, the claws bore immense power. Each collision left their arms numb and drained their energy further. "This beast is even more formidable than we anticipated." Li Qingwei gritted her teeth, beads of sweat forming on her brow, unsure if it was due to the pain of her wounds or the pressure of battle. "Stop struggling. You are merely at the golden core stage. You are far from my match," the beast declared smugly, reveling in their evident exhaustion. He had only exerted 30% of his strength to push them to the brink. His thoughts raced with anticipation of taking the 2 beautiful women back with him to sire children. As they fought desperately against the onslaught, the beast unleashed a powerful strike directly aimed at them. Seeing the attack approach, they dared not show any reluctance. They quickly summoned their remaining spiritual energy to form a protective barrier. However, their energy was too depleted. In an instant, the barrier shattered, and the attack hurtled towards Su Qingqing. Qingqing, be careful. Li Qingyue's face turned pale at the sight. Their remaining energy was scant, and having just withstood the beast's onslaught, she realized that Su Qingqing stood little chance of evading the blow. If it struck her, she might perish on the spot. A fate Li Qingwei could not bear to witness. You mean this is all your strength? The beast mocked, glancing at them as he had merely used a fraction of his power to force them into such dire straits. As the devastating attack bore down upon her, Su Qingqing felt immobilized, acutely aware that should it connect, her chances of survival were slim. Yet, she found herself